McCarthy, you've got the rookie deal, and you want to know what you have in the quarterback. The Bengals feel like they've got their guy in Joe Burrow. Do they have their guy in just Joe Burrow and nobody else out there offensively to be those playmakers for him? We'll see. We'll find out real soon because Jamar Chase ain't showing up to OTAs right now. Neither is T. Higgins. They're not showing up to OTAs in Cincinnati because they both want new deals. T. Higgins hasn't signed his franchise tag, his franchise tender. He's got, 8 weeks to do that, July 15th when he has to sign that. And Jamar Chase is wanting that contract extension, not showing up. Justin Jefferson wasn't either, and he just got his deal. Yeah. But the wide receiver market, I want it to keep getting inflated, keep doing that. And we sit back and go, how in the hell did the Chiefs get Hollywood Brown for $7 million? How did that happen? You have to hit on your draft picks, though.
Yes.
So it becomes that much more important for Rashee Rice to keep his head on straight over the next 3 years and to continue to get better and better. And it's imperative that Xavier Worthy they're right about.
Because you can have, I think to an extent, the McCole Hardmans, right? Again, not great players, but the players that are at least serviceable. Again, whatever.
McCole Hardman was a second-round draft pick.
Whatever your thoughts are on McCole Hardman, it's not DK Metcalf, but he was not a net negative. He was fine, right? Look at he's not Andy Isabella. Right, look at a lot of guys that went around him. We focus on DK.
Not Paris Campbell.
Focus on Paris Campbell and Andy Isabella, right? He's fine. You can't have the Sky Moores. You can't have those. Those are the ones, the guys that, and again, maybe he has a solid year this year, and we're all just saying he needed a lot of time. A lot of time. But those are the ones that kill you. You can't have the Kadarius Tonys where you trade that, and again, maybe you can because you have to win a Super Bowl. I know the punt return.
You spend a second and third round draft pick for guys that are your fifth and sixth wide receivers in your wide receiver room right now.
Yeah, and that's just my point right here. Is if you're Brett Veach, you can still have the McCole Hardmans. It's the Sky Moores that will eventually get you sideways. Those are the ones that will eventually come to roost.
But if you couple the second and third rounders that are deep in your wide receiver room in Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, if you follow that up with Rashee Rice and you're right about Xavier Worthy, then that's an exchange I think you take. If I've got 2 picks in the 50s in the second round and I take 2 wide receivers, if one of them ends up Sky Moore and the other one ends up a 1,000-yard receiver as his rookie year, because if he played week 18, he would have had 1,000 yards, a 1,000-yard receiver your rookie year, and feels like somebody that can be a pretty good number 2. I think a great number 3 right now, but a good number 2, maybe a real strong number 2 by his 4th year, then yeah, okay. And you got Sky Moore that might be serviceable in year 3 and 4. Hopefully he is.
Sure.
I would take that exchange, but the part of that that makes it so vital is not only the Rashee Rice, it's the Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
You spent a first rounder, you traded up for him. You have to be right about Xavier Worthy. He has to be that dude. And not only that dude that can make plays, but that dude that sets up other guys. And part of that is he's got to be on the field. He was on the field a lot at Texas. So all the talk about injuries and everything, he stayed on the field. He's missed a couple of OTAs. It's a nugget. It's a sidebar. Put it over to the side. We'll see what happens training camp and actually in the NFL games when the season starts and what he's doing. But it's imperative that Xavier Worthy is worth that first-round draft pick, because if you miss on him, now you are examining after Travis Kelce, do you have to go out and pay big-time money for a wide receiver to make sure Mahomes has some sort of a playmaker, some sort of a guy? Because it's easy to do the one-year deals with Travis Kelce, who's there as your security blanket, as your number 1 receiver. Okay, you can do a one-year deal with Juju. You can do a one-year deal with Hollywood Brown. Do a one-year deal with somebody next year. But if Xavier is Xavier just a speed guy that runs fast, and Rashee Rice is simply maxed out and this is what he's going to be, and Travis Kelce retires, well then you're wondering, what do we have to do? Do we have to trade up and spend more resources to get a stud receiver in the top 10? Or do we have to go down the wide receiver market and pay $25 million for a number 2 receiver?
I'll hit the gym. Jason, you and I will we'll hit the gym and we'll take
vet
minimums. And
I'm not going to lie. I'll probably, coming from Patrick Mahomes, I probably will drop the ball. Yeah,
man, he was throwing at that big slick, and I'm watching him throw that ball in a crowded place. The way he puts it in the numbers every single time.
Yeah.
But that thing comes out hot. You don't know until you're right there, and you're like, oh, dude, that's coming out like a pitcher.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to take my chances with an NFL check to see if I could catch the ball from Patrick Mahomes. That'd be awesome. I'd love to do that.
Yeah. You might have a cavity in your chest. He might legitimately throw it through you.
As long as he signs it, I'm good. bury me, bury me there with the hole right there. And as long as you put the football there and then an autograph around it, my kids will understand.
It's like the Raider Stadium where the flag's buried, but here lies Jason Anderson. He gave his soul to the Chiefs and his body.
How'd your dad die? Nobly. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling from the Trent Green Golf Classic benefiting Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. More Zone right after this. out at the Trent Green Golf Classic. Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City, Trent Green Golf Classic. The 15th year that Trent Green has been connected with the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City, and a fantastic cause, and $3 million they have raised just in this golf tournament alone for the Ronald McDonald House. And so fantastic stuff. Love being out here, always willing to support Trent Green and the things that he does and the charitable endeavors that he has and has throughout his career. So that's where we are today until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. We'll talk with Matt Verderam at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from him from Sports Illustrated, and we'll get his thoughts on the signing of Justin Jefferson, what it means for Jamar Chase, what it means for the Kansas City Chiefs, what it means for the NFL, and some other things around the NFL. We'll do that with Matt Verderam coming up at 11 o'clock. 913-912-4810. The Kansas City Royals get a massive, massive win yesterday. There are games along the way that feel like they are bigger than just a game. Opening day, obviously. Yeah. That feels like 2 or 3 games or 4 games. You know, the first series of the season always feels like it's bigger than just a series because it's a reference point that we go back to. It sort of sets the feeling of each individual player. You get a new player on your team, at the plate or in the field, he makes an error and goes, 0 for 9 in the series. You're like, oh, well, that sucks. You bring in guys in the bullpen, and they give up a lot of runs in an opening series, you sort of set your views of what that bullpen is the rest of the year early on. So we know the first series, the first game of the year, those are bigger games. But that game yesterday, going into it, didn't it have the feel before the game started of this feels like a pretty big game, a pretty big day? Cole Reagans is on the mound.
Yes.
They had another 3-game losing streak. They have been scuffling as of late mightily. So what do they do here with Reagans? Can they score enough? Can they get the win? And if Reagans doesn't go 9, can the bullpen hold a lead or keep them within striking distance so that they don't get it to the 9th inning and get the tying run on base or the tying run the tying run 4 feet away from tying the game up like they did Friday night, or the other times this week when they had game after game after game. Each game they either won it or they had the tying run on in the 9th inning or at bat in the 9th inning, except for Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday's the only time that they did not have that in the entire week when they had been struggling. They had gotten there and gotten there and gotten there, but not enough. And going into that game yesterday, it just had a feel of this one feels bigger. And they found a way to get it done. It was in the 9th inning. Cole Reagans was brilliant and gave him a chance. 2-run score in the 8th inning, and you're like, okay, there it is. And I'm glad I did not tweet before the bottom of the 9th, but I was close to going, looking forward to the Royals getting 1 run, loading the bases, and losing 3-2. Because that's what this week had been. And I tweeted out on Friday night, Sterling, after the fly ball from Velasquez felt 4 feet short of tying the game. The Royals are moral victorying the hell out of this week. They are moral victorying their ass off this week, but they're not winning. Well, maybe, and I don't think we'll ever be able to know for a fact and how quantifiable it is, but maybe those games accumulating and doing what they did in the 9th finally broke through, whereas if they didn't even give themselves that chance in the 9th inning in so many games, maybe yesterday they come up 3-1 in the bottom of the 9th, and Vinny goes quietly into the dark night. Salvi's 1-2, and he's swinging out of his shoes to try to make something happen, and Nelly is trying to smash a home run instead of just an easy swing because he's got such easy power, things like that. It's so different. The feel is.
Well, they did because they got to not have to face Robert Suarez. Mm-hmm. Because they got to him in the previous games. They came back. The Padres had to put Suarez in. What happened? Yeah. Well, he didn't pitch the 9th last night. Mark Collins.
How about that?
Hey, fellas, what's going on?
Mark Collins just sitting down with us. How about that? We're over here talking some Royals, and we get Mark Collins to hang out with us. That's perfectly fine.
Let's continue to talk about the Royals. I'm gonna tell you what.
You want to?
They're having a great season. I think they've far superseded everybody's expectations.
Yeah, they have.
And I went out to a couple of games, and I like what I see. The youth movement mixed with a little age in there.
Yeah.
They're doing pretty damn well.
It's not bad, huh?
No, it's not bad at all. They got to keep it up. They got to keep it up, though.
Absolutely. Mark Collins is our guest, New York Giant, Kansas City Chief. You could say the Royals are playing some pretty slick baseball, right?
They are.
That's
You got a great
right.
outfit on, too.
Yeah, you do. You look good, man.
I got to give some credit for the white pants, with the pink and white striped, and then the hat to match.
Yeah, I got a little game, too. You can't dress this way and be a bum, you can't dress, nice and then stink up the course. I do okay.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's like you show up to a basketball court. If you at least look the part, maybe you feel good. Doesn't mean you have to play all that. Well, man, he looks like a good player. No, he wasn't. You look like you can go and swing him.
It's a defensive back mentality. You look good, you play good.
Look good, feel good, play good. That's right.
That's how it is.
That's exactly right.
How'd you shoot up there?
So far, I'm okay. I got a great group of people with me, and it's always good when Trent calls to come out to support his event. And I'm here, and like a lot of other people, just having a good time and trying to raise some money.
I want to talk some Chiefs with you because what they've done of late in this 5-year run with winning the 3 Super Bowls and your 3 years with the Chiefs and what it felt like around Kansas City of just like the starving for that success in the postseason and in the Super Bowl because you were around it and it had been so long, not knowing it'd be another 20 years or so before they finally got it done. But could you feel it even back then with sort of the resurgence and Marty and Bill Cowher and everybody sort of getting this thing rolling again and Carl Peterson?
I'm going to tell you, when I played for Marty and Carl, they set the foundation to get it right. And it's unfortunate, or fortunate, either or. Winning a Super Bowl, getting to a Super Bowl, it's really it's luck of the draw. You could build the perfect plan, but that plan changes. If you don't know how to navigate it through the season with injuries and all the salary caps and stuff, you could go from a perennial contender to a yearly loser. And when I was with the Chiefs, we done that. We got it, the perfect team. We just didn't get it done. My years with the Giants, we did it twice in 4 years. And we had a great foundation, great leadership, great ownership, and they did it the right way. Now, I compare that to what the Chiefs are doing now. This window is open for a long time. Maybe another 5, 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
One thing the Chiefs have done better than anybody in the National Football League is keeping that roster young, and that's the key. They're not going out getting all these high-priced free agents. They have a formula, and it's working. And as long as you have 15 back there, you got a damn good shot of being there. And I said to anybody.
We basically had the exact same conversation in the first segment. So I'm glad you're here to corroborate with us what we were talking about. How hard is it for you seeing someone like L'Jarius Sneed, right?
Yeah.
You know the defensive back position as well as anyone. Seeing him now leave Kansas City, not get that second contract here. I know he's a little bit on the older side now for a cornerback, right?
Yeah.
But as a former cornerback, is it hard seeing him leave Kansas City?
It's a business on both ends. L'Jarius did what he did here in Kansas City. I'm sure he wanted to stay.
Yeah.
But sometimes, more times than not, it's out of your control. It's part of the business of the National Football League and the general manager and the ownership. They want to keep the roster young. Now, I tell you this: the reason that the Chiefs felt he was expendable to let go is because they've done an absolutely great job of drafting defensive backs, keeping them young, and getting these guys ready to play at the next level. So when they're ready for the second dip of money, they can let those guys go because they got a good stockpile of DBs to replace them.
Is that development? Is that identifying talent in the draft?
Absolutely. The scouting department is top notch. They know they find guys that from schools you never heard of. And next you know, these guys are making plays on special teams, making plays when the number's called. If an injury happens, they come in and do a good job. And then next you know, these guys are, top 10 corners in the league. And next you know, they're winning championships. So you hate to see them go. It happened to me in New York with the Giants. That's just the nature of the business.
Yeah.
When you came into the league, a lot of these younger players have success or are experiencing success really quickly with the Chiefs. You came into the league and win a Super Bowl your first year.
Yeah.
In your mind, this is going to be every year. Like, is it just like, okay, you know how hard you work, but we won a Super Bowl. Hey, this is pretty good, man. I'm going to be winning Super Bowls a lot here in the NFL.
It's wild because my first year, you're right, I won a Super Bowl, and I started on that great Giant defense as a starter. And then you go, oh, man, we'll do this all the time. And then the drought comes.
Yeah, right.
The strike year in 87.
Mm-hmm.
And then 88, we missed the playoffs. 89, we got beat by the Rams in New York, and then we won again in 90. So I would tell anybody, if players are listening, always savor the flavor, because there's nothing like being a champion. And that's something, winning it once is great. Winning it twice is even better. Winning 3 or 4 is unbelievable. Savor the flavor, enjoy it, because everybody wants to be associated with a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know a lot of guys who played 10, 12 years in the league and never even made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I was fortunate and blessed enough to play 13 years and missed the playoffs 4 years. So, and winning 2 Super Bowls is awesome. It's flipping awesome.
Mark Collins is our guest. He won the 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, played for 3 years with Kansas City in that fantastic defense that the Chiefs had. And so when you look at this team, and you mentioned winning it once is amazing, and winning it twice is even better. It was interesting to hear like Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes going into this playoffs and saying, we want this one more than we wanted the first 2. Like the first Super Bowl, the second, this is the one that we want even more. And it's hard to sort of on the outside, right, novice, never played, just looking going, I mean, wouldn't you want your first one more because you've never experienced it? Then you got your second to back it up to prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. But no, they want this one more. And now they're talking about this year. No, this is the one that they want more than ever. Do you relate to that? Does that make sense to you? As when you win one, the next one you want even more than the previous one?
It's all about validation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of one-hit wonders in music and in football as well, right? So when you get one, okay, cool, you got to validate that in the next year or 2 or 3. The Chiefs did that. Mm-hmm. They validated it again. And now going for 3 in a row, now you're chasing history.
Yeah.
And once you have history like that, no one could take that from you. So I look at football differently than you guys do. You guys watch the game itself. I watch formations. I know tendencies. I can sit in the stands and can tell you a play for it happened because I know the game. I know what to look for. And these guys right now, they're looking for history. The young guys who got 1, 2, that's great. Patrick, Kelce, Chris Jones, Andy Reid, all these other guys, now they're chasing history. Because now you're trying to set a mark that no one has done before the National Football League. I think the Green Bay Packers did it before the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, it was before
Yeah, but other than that, in the modern Super Bowl era, that hasn't been done. So, and they have a great shot of doing it. All these prognosticators saying San Francisco and Baltimore, and I don't see it because, well, Baltimore has a good team. And I'll say this, I'll get back to what we're talking about. Baltimore will never win for one reason. Lamar Jackson is an excellent quarterback. But if you ever watch a game, and like I said, I watch it differently than you do, once he goes to the wristband to get the play, that's the play. He never checks out of a play. He never checks in a play or out of a play. And once, as a defensive player, once I know I can weather that storm and weather the street ball mentality that he has to make a play, we got a chance of winning. So until that young man learns how to check out of a play, they'll never win. And you watch Patrick Mahomes. Patrick is, watch this person, watch that. He's checking in and out of plays. And that's the mark of a great quarterback compared to a great athlete who happens to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's Lamar Jackson.
This Chiefs team, the way they won this last year is different than the other trips to the playoffs and trips to the Super Bowl. You being a guy that, on those great giant defenses, and of course the Chiefs that were led by that defense in 94, 95, 96. Yeah. Does it maybe stick out a little bit more that it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid in the offense, but this last year, I mean, it was about the defense. The defense helped carry them to the Super Bowl. Mahomes made the last 2 drives at the end of regulation and then in overtime, but the defense was sort of the stalwart all year long for this team.
Well, that's how the league's changed over the years. Where defense used to win championships all the time, at some point in today's NFL, you got to stop somebody at some point.
Yeah,
you gotta. And the way the Chiefs have been winning, they won the first Super Bowl with the big play, the splash plays, right? Then they win the second Super Bowl by dinking and doinking and taking what the team gives you. This team could beat you any way you want. You just pick your poison. And that's a hard team to beat when a team could beat you in either way. You want to play small ball? We'll play small ball with you, and we'll beat you. So, I don't see, and like I said, winning the Super Bowl mostly is luck of the draw. But when you got the blueprint and the building and the stability to do it, the way they've done it, how they've done it over the last 3 or 4 years, everybody's going to try to do like what the Chiefs doing. They're not going to try to bring big time talent in, these splash players, whatever. They're going to build through the draft. They got their the stability parts, the quarterback, tight end, offensive line in order. The defense is young enough to go for another 2 or 3, 4 years to make a run. They drafted very, very well. Missed on very few players, and that's the blueprint. And hell, let's work it.
Yeah. Mark Collins is our guest. Mark, thank you for stopping by, man.
Sure,
we really
guys.
appreciate it. This was awesome. Thank
All
you
right,
for
guys.
doing this.
Hey, hit him straight, baby.
Absolutely.
I'll do okay.
I better see your name on top of
It's
there.
not. I'm having a cigar and a beer right now, so I'm leaving. All right, guys, be good.
Love it. There's Mark Collins, former New York Giant, Kansas City Chief. There in the mid-'90s with those dominant defenses, talking some Kansas City Chiefs with us here as he's out here at the Trent Green Golf Classic, benefiting the Ronald McDonald Charities of Kansas City, and great stuff from him. First year in the league, wins a Super Bowl. Then, as he said, then they strike, then they miss the playoffs, and they get beat early in the playoffs, and then they get that Super Bowl in '90 with the Giants. But man, it would have been nice for them to get one in '95 when he was on that. I didn't bring it up. I didn't go back to '95 with him. I wanted
to touch that one.
No, I didn't. I didn't want to.
He's still in great shape.
Yeah, if we had him, yeah, exactly right. I mean, I don't. If he got a little upset by that,
No,
maybe
he's
still
a
had
great
some,
guy.
Still had some emotion.
Well, we'll take it off
from
on the golf ball.
That's exactly right.
We'll take it on the golf ball.
Not on my head. That would be great. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone right after this, wrapping up this hour, and then we will talk with Matt Verderam from Sports Illustrated. More Zone right after this. You know, men out there, I don't know if, or families out there, man. little about the Royals to start off our conversation with Mark Collins, and of course about the Kansas City Chiefs and what they're doing, and the dynastic run that they are on right now, and the window, as he said, being open for another 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And that is absolutely right. As long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are coaching, well, Patrick Mahomes playing, Andy Reid coaching, as long as that tandem is there, and Brett Veach is the GM, they certainly will have that window open. So thank you to Mark Collins. We'll see who else joins us out here as we're hanging out until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Matt Verderam on the other side of the break. Sports Illustrated's Matt Verderam. We'll talk with him about the NFL. Justin Jefferson signing a massive deal. What's that mean for Jamar Chase? What's it mean for CeeDee Lamb? Josh Kaiser will come up at noon. More Zone next.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We're hanging out at the Trent Green Golf Classic, benefiting the Ronald McDonald Charities of Kansas City. And this is the 15th year that Trent Green has been associated with this particular tournament. And they continue to raise a ton of money for a fantastic cause with the Ronald McDonald House and the Charities of Kansas City. $3 million they have raised since Trent Green has been a part of this golf tournament. And we'll talk with Trent Green coming up later on in the show. Right now, let's talk with Matt Verderam from Sports Illustrated, joining us here to talk about some NFL football, some Kansas City Chiefs, and some other things around the league. Matt, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I am doing just fine. So another day, another receiver gets the bag. Justin Jefferson, 4 years, $140 million, 110 guaranteed, $35 million a year. What's Matt Verderam's takeaway and reaction to hearing the news and those numbers this morning?
Not surprised at all. I think I actually was on the radio a week ago, and I said it would be 440, and I thought the guarantee would be closer to 100. He got 110. I'm not surprised. I mean, he was always going to reset the market. He was always going to get the most annual money. He was always going to get the most total money. He was always going to get the most guaranteed. And, Minnesota, look, they had to take care of him. You can't let a guy like that walk. First of all, just in general. Second of all, when you have a rookie quarterback, you're trying to break in. And look, they want him in before mandatory minicamp. They want him in certainly before training camp. So they accomplished both tasks there. And then it leaves the Cowboys and the Bengals, and to some degree the Niners without you, although I don't think he's quite on that same level. But it leaves Cincinnati and Dallas in a real pickle because Chase is going to say to them, hey, I want more. And minimum I want the same. And CeeDee Lamb's going to say, yeah, I want more. And I don't know why Dallas in particular is waiting. Like, Lamb's going to get at least as much. So it puts those teams in a bad spot. Minnesota, meanwhile, happy it's done.
Yeah, for the Minnesota Vikings, it makes total sense because they've got that rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, and so you've got the rookie quarterback deal. And also, I mean, look, if you traded Justin Jefferson away and didn't want to pay him, well, then what are you doing with McCarthy over the next 4 years to see can this guy get it done if you don't have those weapons around him? At least now you're paying Justin Jefferson, almost quarterback money, the highest paid player, non-quarterback in the NFL. And over the next 4 years, you get an idea, can J.J. McCarthy do it? And if he can and you feel like it's more McCarthy than Justin Jefferson making him a good quarterback, well, then you take the money you're paying Jefferson and you give that to McCarthy and you see what you do with Jefferson and see what the salary cap is at that point. Maybe you re-sign or extend Justin Jefferson, or maybe at that point you move on and you feel like you've got your quarterback of the future. The Chiefs didn't know what they had in Patrick Mahomes. For sure, they had a pretty good idea, and so they brought in Sammy Watkins to go along with Tyreek and to go along with Travis Kelce. But when they knew what they had, they weren't willing to pay Tyreek Hill crazy amount of money, so they moved on because they believed in Patrick Mahomes. It's a great move for Minnesota, Matt, like you said. I do wonder, though, for Cincinnati, what happens now with them, because you're right. Jamar Chase, those guys are friends, and also Jamar Chase just thinks he's the best wide receiver in the NFL as it is. Their hands are tied if they're going to pay him. They know what the starting point is going to be for Jamar Chase, and that's the contract that Justin Jefferson just got.
That is going to be Dallas is going to pay Lamb. I mean, they're going to pay him more than they would have if they just done the right thing 6 months ago. But they're going to pay him. Jerry's not going to let CeeDee Lamb walk out of that building. Mm-hmm. Jamar Chase is a very interesting situation because T. Higgins is going to leave. I don't see any world where he's back in Cincinnati after the season. Jamar Chase, it's kind of been this assumption, like, well, they'll pay Burrow and they'll pay Chase. And Burrow, of course, already got paid. He got taken care of. Chase is going to say, I want $35 a year, and I want $100 million guaranteed. And this is a franchise that, outside of Joe Burrow, has never given massive guaranteed money. I mean, even a guy like Trey Hendrickson, when they brought him over in free agency from New Orleans, 4 years, $56 million, I believe it was, he didn't even get $20 million guaranteed in that contract. But they don't do that. Because for those who are listening who might be unaware, when an NFL player signs a contract, the guaranteed portion has to be put in escrow the second that contract is signed. Some of these teams, it doesn't matter. The Broncos, they have Walmart money. They don't care. Clark Hunt, he's got more money than God. It doesn't matter. It matters for Mike Brown. it matters. Like $100 million going to escrow for him matters. That they don't spend that in an off season, let alone on one player. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Chase holds a hard line with them. There's a real chance that thing turns ugly in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's that because Hendrickson and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, they're all holding out. Hendrickson wants a new contract.
Yep.
T. Higgins wants a contract. And Jamar Chase wants a new contract as well. And so, they are dealing with all of that stuff as well. And look, I mean, Joe Burrow got, $200 million guaranteed when he signed that contract. So they've already had to figure out how to get some how to get liquid for that contract, and now you're saying, all right, now this offseason, here's another $100 million that you're going to have to try to get liquid when your wealth is tied up into ownership of the Bengals.
Right, and in all seriousness, it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm dead serious. They always had a stadium that was named for something that wasn't a revenue share. They had Paul Brown Stadium, Riverfront forever. When they had to pay Joe Burrow, that became Paycor Stadium. Yeah. They needed the money. Like, I talked to people in the league who flat out before they signed that contract said to me, they might have to go get a short-term loan from a bank, like to pay out his escrow, because that's the kind of situation you're dealing with. That is not a team that is owned by Stan Kroenke. They're not a team that's just going to go, $250 million, fine, don't worry about it, nothing. It matters to them. That is, like I said, the Higgins thing, I'd be floored if he's back. I just don't see any reality that T. Higgins is back on that team after this year. And the other thing that makes it interesting, too, is not only just the money with Jamar Chase, they have him signed for 2 more years, plus they could tag him. So, if you're the Bengals, you don't have to pay him right now. It'd probably be the best business practice, but you don't have to. There's a world where Mike Brown just tells Jamar Chase, hey, look, man, we're not paying you for at least 2 more years, so buckle up. And that's where it could become very interesting if Jamar Chase really wants to take the hard road here.
To Matt's point, the Brown family just put in an indoor facility for an NFL franchise in the last 2 years, and it's a bubble. It's not even a real facility, so, yeah.
Well, I read something last week, and I can't remember what it was, and maybe it was about the naming rights of the stadium, but it was something about what the Brown family is doing to try to bring in some sort of an extra stream of revenue so that they can be more have more cash flow, be a little more liquid, so they can sign some of these contracts. And whether that's, selling off a portion of the team so that they can then put that into I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm glad it's a position the Chiefs aren't in, and they've got to make a real decision to what they do. And that's part, Matt, where it kind of gets into the locker room, because, Jamar's not there, Hendrickson, T. Higgins, they all want different deals. And if the Brown family approaches Jamar Chase and says, look, man, we don't have the money, so we'll pay you in a year or two. Okay, well, hold on. Burrow's getting that money. Well, why can't I get that money? Okay, well, T. Higgins is wondering, this guy's say, now you're going to pay Jamar Chase and not me. I was here first. Hold on, you're giving money to Hendrickson and not me. You start to get that infighting. I really do wonder what happens in the locker room if the Bengals are trying to figure out who to pay and who they value more and who gets that cash while the other person's sitting out going, hey, what about me?
Well, and another part of that, they paid Orlando Brown for them major money. Orlando Brown had never played it down in Cincinnati when they paid him. That stuff, if you're in a locker room in the NFL, that's a real thing. Guys sit there. I did that when the Chiefs were kind of going back and forth with Chris Jones the last 2 off seasons. Look, there are guys in that Chiefs locker room who are watching how that plays out, because they paid Frank Clark and they gave Jawan Taylor big money, and they, now obviously, they've also taken care of their own, like Mahomes and Hill on his first deal and Kelsey. But players want that kind of stuff because they're sitting there going, well, if you're not going to pay him, you're not going to pay me. So should I be going all out? Should I maybe make sure I'm good more than anything else? Or, hey, do I feel like if I go all out, if I play well, I'm going to get rewarded? The Chiefs ended up paying Chris Jones. That shows a guy like a Trent McDuffie, a George Karlaftis, a Creed Humphrey, a Trey Smith. Hey, look, if I perform, I'm going to get paid. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, if you're one of the young players on that team, you are watching these situations play out, especially with Higgins and especially with Chase. And you're saying, man, they're not going to pay those guys. Why would they pay me? Why would they pay, maybe a second-tier player? It is a problem, and it is something that can really fester in the locker room. And it's something that the Bengals right now are dealing with more than any team in the NFL. You have 3 major players, 3 of the 5 best players on that team, who aren't in OTAs right now because they're ticked off with management. It's not a great look.
Verderam, I agree with you right there, but with the Chiefs, particularly right here, with the specifics position, cornerback. If you're McDuffie, do you have the same thought process with not Travarius, not Legarius? I guess
what about Thacarius?
I mean, maybe even secondary in general with Tyrann Mathieu walking, with Juan Thornton, who was a good player, not great player. But if you're someone like Trent McDuffie, do you have the same mindset as, let's just say, a Nick Bolton?
It's a fair question. I think there's probably a little bit of a different mindset because you share a room with all those guys and you're sitting there going, man, they're all gone. Now, I will say, I think if you're from McDuffie, now McDuffie never played with Tyrann Mathieu, so I don't know that matters as much. And, Travarius Ward, there was an overlap with him. But, yeah, like Snead leaving, sure. I mean, there's a little bit of that. But I also think, to be fair, they did right by him at least. They traded him when they knew he could get paid. They didn't. In some ways you could argue, like, they could have just held him on the tag and said, that's your problem. Play it out. And they didn't do that. They gave him their word that if you can get the contract you want, we'll move you. And they did. So I think, yeah, there's probably a little bit of a difference. I also think while they have not paid guys in the past at that position, I think McDuffie is such a unique player, first-round pick, everything else. I mean, they've made a bigger investment in him than any other secondary player simply by making him first-round pick. I think they'll pay him. My question really with them is, on the offensive line here, are they going to pay Trey Smith? I mean, the guard market exploded. Like, if he has a really good year this year, are they going to pay him? Are they going to pay him $15 to $20 million a year? If they do they move on from Tooney a year early? Creed Humphrey and Bolton, I think, are likely to get paid. But I think Trey Smith is a really fascinating one.
Well, it's to me, like the whole part about how much you pay. The Orlando Brown contract and the situation that you brought up, I think, is really interesting because we talked about it when Chris Jones was getting, going through his contract negotiation last offseason. And it was like, well, why won't Chris Jones take a hometown discount? Why won't he just take a little bit less to keep winning? And my response was, did you ask Jawan Taylor to take a hometown discount with the Chiefs? He didn't. He took market value. So why are you you're giving an outsider market value, so why would you then ask a guy in the building to take less than market value? That doesn't make any sense. It'd be the person in the building that you would say, you know what, you've done this, we're going to take care of you. And so that Orlando Brown contract, I think, is a really interesting one because they gave him that particular money. How do you navigate the wide receiver market then if you move forward, if you're an NFL team? We've seen wide receivers, infiltrate the NFL, and every year we're seeing younger, really good wide receivers. Over the last 4, 5, 6 years, you're seeing all these all-pro receivers are from these draft classes and guys that are top 10, top 15 picks. Is it going to be trending even more in that direction where you're willing to take a wide receiver in the top 10 or move up and trade extra resources to get a wide receiver because the price of doing business right now is a number 2 receiver is worth $25, $26, $27 million, where a number 1 is going to be worth 35 or something like that? Do you pay the money just because that's the price of doing business? Like, how do you think the wide receiver market goes and moves forward with these teams? Are we going to see a premium on wide receivers being taken more and more in the top 20, top 25 picks because this is what you're paying for a number 1, and we know you're paying $22 to $26, $27 million for a number 2.
I was actually talking this morning to my editor at Sports Illustrated about this, and I'd like to at some point sit down and do a piece where I talk to a bunch of sources in the league and maybe dive deeper into this summer. Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely going to happen here. I mean, you're going to get to a junction. Guys are getting $35 million a year. Like, there are teams that are just flat out going to say, I'm not paying the guy that. It's not going to happen. And I think what's going to happen, like we've seen the shift in college. I'm 35 years old. When I was a kid, very few teams were running the spread in college.
Yep.
Very few teams were throwing the ball all over. It was you were going to run the ball on first down, run the ball on second down. You always had a running quarterback. Certainly some teams still play that way, but a lot of teams now, hey, we're going 4 or 5 wide, and here it comes. Deal with it. I mean, we watched Bo Nix throw for 45 touchdowns and 3 picks at Oregon. I'm not trying to knock down Bo Nix. Does anybody really feel like that statistically is representative of his caliber? If it was, he'd be the first overall pick in the draft. The game has changed in college. And so what's happening is all these receivers are being developed. Instead of having 2 or 3 guys you feel like are pretty confidently going to go in the first round, you have 10 to 12 guys going in the first 2 rounds of these drafts. And if I'm a GM, I'm saying, look, I'm not, with all due respect to Brandon Ayuk, I think he's a very good player, great. I'm not paying Brandon Ayuk $30+ million a year. Like, what? I'm just going to go draft a guy in the first round. And if I draft and I hit on that guy, I've got 5 years of control plus 2 tags. I control until he's 30. Like that's cool. I'll pay you for 5 to 7 years, and then you can go get paid on your second contract somewhere else. I think I don't think we're going to see the devaluation of the position we have, like with running back, is just the way the game is played now. Mm-hmm. But I absolutely think there are going to be teams who just say, yeah, unless you're absolutely like the elite of the elite, we're not paying you. You can go get paid somewhere else.
I think it's a good point, and I'm fascinated to read this piece when you get it done, as you're working on it. Hopefully, your editor's smart enough to say, "Yeah, let's do it." So that'd be great if we did. But I think it goes back even to high school, because when you and I were growing up, Matt, and before us, your best athlete played quarterback. Like the best athlete on the field, you put that guy at quarterback and let him go. Now with the spread offenses in high school, 7-on-7 being a big deal throughout the summer.
You're gonna throw it.
You're throwing it all the time, and now your best athletes are wide receivers or running backs. And so you're developing that skill position in high school throughout their career, throughout their life, and then in college. And we have wide receivers entering the NFL that are better, more advanced, and more equipped to produce earlier than we've ever seen in the league's history, because we're developing them as junior high and high schoolers to play wide receiver, because what we're seeing with 7-on-7 and the passing game in high school now.
Well, and also we're seeing the bigger and more prevalent camps, right?
Yes.
I mean, you see camps now
right.
all over the place. Want to be,
right.
You see the quarterback camps. They've been around for a while. They're receiver camps now.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you can't play receiver, you're probably going to play corner.
Yep.
Because what the hell now? I mean, to me, that's where the market is going to flip. I think more corners are going to start getting paid and fewer receivers, because corner, you don't see 5, 6, 7 corners in the first round. Every once in a while it'll happen. But for the most part, it is very, very hard to find Sauce Gardner in the draft. It is very hard to find Trent McDuffie in the draft. That is hard to do. It's not as hard to find guys. I mean, how many guys this year are going to have 1,000 yards receiving around the league? 25? I mean, guys who you're like, okay, that guy's at least a legitimate top-end weapon on an average to good offense. Like, Rashee Rice was a second-round pick. Rashee Rice barely played the first half of the season, almost had 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the way the game is now. And also, too, tight ends. We're seeing more and more guys who can come in, and nobody cares now if you can block as a tight end. Can you catch? I mean, that's all that matters. So I do think what we're going to see is these receivers coming in, and you're right. It starts at the high school level. It starts at junior college, regular D1 college, and you just have so many more options if you're a team to draft a guy who can really play and play early.
Matt Verderam's our guest from Sports Illustrated. You mentioned the tight end, and that's where I was going to go next. What do you think this does for the tight end market and tight end prospects coming in to the NFL? Because when we were talking about if the Chiefs were going to pay Tyreek Hill versus, the Bengals eventually having to pay Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, and the advantage that the Chiefs had was that, okay, if they paid those big three, they'd be paying Mahomes, a big number for quarterback money. They'd be paying Tyreek Hill a big number for wide receiver money, and they'd be paying Travis Kelce a big number for tight end money, but it's half of what you're paying these elite wide receivers. I mean, Justin Jefferson's getting $35 million. Kelce got a pay increase to $17 million this year. Does it then increase the value of tight ends in the draft and developing them and having those guys be a big part of your offense because you're paying half the price for the best tight end in the league as you are for the best wide receiver in the league?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Chiefs have had the benefit, as you mentioned. I mean, Kelsey's not going to get paid like Justin Jefferson. And up until very, very recently, Chris Jones wasn't getting paid like Nick Bosa.
Yeah, right.
Like they were able to get away with that. And look, part of it, too, a big part of it, is they draft incredibly well. I mean, the Chiefs have just drafted so well. They can let guys like Tyreek. I mean, how many teams, not like currently, I mean like in the history of the sport, could let Tyreek Hill go in the prime of his career and then win the next 2 Super Bowls? I mean, that's like when the Edmonton Oilers had Wayne Gretzky and we're like, you know what, Wayne, you're great, but like we're going to let you walk, and then won the Stanley Cup. And it just didn't matter. It made no difference if they lost Wayne Gretzky. Like that is a culture thing. That is an unbelievably a great amount of young players. And that's, so there's a lot of advantages. But yeah, sure, you're paying a tight end and a D tackle instead of instead of paying a wideout and a DN. And that, it's weird in a way. Like, it shouldn't matter. It's just based on production, but it does matter.
Yeah. Last one for you, Matt. Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated. If and when, let's just say this offseason, both CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase get their contracts done. Probably, more likely CeeDee Lamb gets done. But if they both get their contracts done, is Justin Jefferson still the highest paid wide receiver, or one of those guys surpass him?
I'll say CeeDee Lamb surpasses him. I think Lamb will, because I think Lamb's in the conversation, and Jerry's one of the few owners, like, he likes to take care of his stars. He likes to be in the news. And if Jerry can give him $1 million more to make him the highest paid receiver, Jerry's going to do it. So I'll say CeeDee Lamb has the better shot.
All right, we'll see what happens. Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated. Matt, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Looking forward to reading that piece whenever it's done, because that'll be a fascinating study on where the NFL has gone and the position and the talent that's there. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Absolutely. There's Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated. Seriously, it's something that we've talked about on the show for a couple of years now, seeing all these wide receivers in the first round, seeing these all-pro guys that are younger rookie contract wide receivers, where we saw for so long it was like the same names and the same group of receivers that were at the top of the game. And now it's so saturated with really good wide receivers. Like, Brandon Ayuk. It's like Brandon Ayuk's going to get like $32 million per year. It's like, no, thank you. I like Brandon Ayuk. I like him a lot. And if the Chiefs had traded for Brandon Ayuk, when they were, moving on from Tyreek Hill and you had him for a couple of years, whatever it was, like, if Brandon Ayuk's in the Chiefs offense, I would absolutely love that.
Sure.
But I can't pay him $32 million per year, depending on whatever the guaranteed dollars are, obviously, when you're dealing with 110 guaranteed over 4 years for Justin Jefferson. Like, you're getting into a conversation where it's just outlandish to pay that. And at some point, there's going to be a team that just goes, we're not paying it. And there are going to be other teams that say, for that guy, we're not paying it. There might be the very few that are going to get crazy money. But there's got to come a time where the teams are going, that guy's a good number 2. We're not going to do that. We're going to draft a number 2 in the second or third round.
Sure.
And we're going to go that way. And, like, the middle class is almost going to be, valued out of the NFL to a degree. You're either getting top-level money or we're paying you on a rookie deal. We're not going to pay $24 million for a number 2. I'll go get that guy in the second round.
Well, baseball had that happen for a little bit, too, with veterans, right?
Yeah.
Baseball had that same thing happen, and I do wonder if in the NFL, if you're going to see that middle class eventually go out. Oh, my gosh. Is this some Q39 right here?
Oh, my goodness. Are you guys kidding me?
Yeah, this is
Are you kidding me?
incredible.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I don't care about wide receivers anymore.
I don't care about
Sorry, Justin Jefferson. You no longer matter.
I got Q39 brisket in front of me.
Thank you, guys.
And I'll tell you what, man.
Wow.
When my in-laws come into town and friends come into town, he wants to go to Q. That's he wants to go to Q. The poutine, like the brisket.
Oh my gosh.
The burn-ins, the beans right here. We got some pulled pork.
I saw him cooking it right there in that grill over there.
This is ridiculous,
and it was,
man. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I walked inside earlier when you were talking to Verderame at the very beginning of that, and
you didn't eat. Okay.
Well, I needed some water. No, I haven't ate yet. No, not ate yet. But I walked in and I saw that, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this looks amazing. So, Jason, I just want to say that I think I may be the catalyst for us getting this.
No, I appreciate it.
I do the real hard work for this right here.
I've been waiting for you to make a big difference in the show, and you've done it.
Thank you. This is all I needed. This is all I did. Dylan does the actual hard work, so I can't really say I did the hard work for the show.
Yeah.
But I did the hard work for getting us great food.
Your probationary period is over now.
Thank you.
Okay, now I can talk to Chad to see about making you a full-time member of the show.
Thank you. Was it still a tryout? I was still on a tryout basis.
Oh, you didn't know?
It's
a trial basis.
And I was kind of Tony Pena Jr. in it for a little bit there. I didn't know my.
Thank you, sir. Just hitting triples.
Yeah, just hitting triples, and everyone's like, "Oh wow,
wow, this guy's pretty good." It's
the Wasp came back. The Wasp even said, "You know what? I'm back, baby."
Getting some barbecue. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will continue rolling. I want to go through the wide receiver ones in the NFL. Who do we think the best wide receivers? We don't even have to rank them. Just who is a true wide receiver one. We talk about true aces in Major League Baseball. We know Cole Reagans is one, Seth Lugo, but the true wide receiver ones in the NFL that would be getting this money versus guys that may be on the cusp of being a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2 that you're wondering how much money you're really going to pay that guy. We'll take a timeout. We'll do that on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Trent Green and this golf classic going on 15 years now that he has been partnering up with Ronald McDonald House, and they do some fantastic stuff. They have raised over $3 million so far for Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City with this Trent Green Golf Classic each and every year. Bunch of local celebrities and former Chiefs players come out here, and former Royals players come out here and take part in this, and it's really cool because it goes to a special cause, and the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City keeping families together with their sick children and helping, close the gap in the care, supportive services that they need. And you're talking about children that are battling cancer, waiting on a heart transplant list, babies that were born with complex medical issues and, have to be in the NICU for a while, which is incredibly expensive. If anybody has had a child that spent even a couple days in the NICU, you know how expensive that can be. And they do a great job of helping families out with all of that and many, many other things that kids are battling. So we're here at the Trent Green Golf Classic. We'll talk with Trent coming up in the noon hour at some point, get his thoughts on some Chiefs and maybe some wide receivers.
Yeah.
How much would Eddie Kinnison make in today's market right now? It's just unbelievable.
Dante Hall getting Hollywood Brown money.
Oh God, yes, that's right. 913-912-4810. So I want to talk about some wide receiver ones. We were discussing last week when
you don't look at my list over here. I see you trying to look at my cards.
That's exactly right. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the cards so I can cheat. When Jalen Waddle got his contract, and I'm like, man, Jalen Waddle to me is a good number 2. I don't think he's a number 1. I think he's in a list of guys, a group of guys that could be number 1 receivers in the NFL.
Sure.
But I don't put him as a number 1 receiver in the NFL. So let's go through and pick out guys who we think are number 1 receivers in the NFL. Dylan, do you have a list, or is it just going to be Sterling and I?
No, I got a list.
Yes. All right. I never got confirmation from you two that you were both in. So
I gave you a thumbs up.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Could be-
like
could be a-
as in like I
could be
like
a-
this.
Could be a thumbs up. Looking forward to hearing your list, Jason.
No, I love listicles. I'm a big listicle guy.
Right. We don't have to list these as the number 1 through number 10, 11, 12, or 4, however many number 1 receivers you have, but just the group of people. I'll ask this, though. How many receivers do you guys have in your group of number 1s? I have 7.
I got 4.
4. Oh, I love that.
Oh wow,
Dylan. I love that,
you
Dylan.
you guys are strong.
I love how I love your grading system, Dylan, already.
I have so here's what I have.
Because I thought I would have the fewest.
I'm bad at math. Let me count.
You're fine. Just take it one at a time.
I have I think 10.
You think? That's right. It's your list.
Yeah. I'm going 10 wide receiver 1s.
Okay.
With the case for like 4 more.
Okay.
There's like 8 legit ones, but 2 that I'm like, you know what? No, I'm counting them as wide receiver 1s based on.
Interesting. So you have 8 legit ones. I've got 7, and Dylan's like, I got 4.
So 8 legit ones, 2 that I think should be in the wide receiver 1 mix, and then 4 that I'm like, I could hear the argument and I would agree.
So let's hear Dylan's first because he has 4. So I'm assuming Dylan's 4 will be on both of our list of who we think are
none.
true number 1 receivers.
So mine are going to be I just went off, do they need an actual quarterback to play at the level that they currently play
I
at?
like the criteria.
I think that there are 4 guys that can do that. Tyreek Hill's 1 for sure because obviously he's gone to 2 different teams and shown that. Justin Jefferson had 3 different quarterbacks last season, I think. And I'm going to go Devontae Adams, even though, Raiders have kind of been a little shaky, but he's still a very good receiver. I'm pretty sure he still has 1,000 yards every season. The last one is Cooper Kupp because he is the last Triple Crown winner. So that is why he is in there.
That's phenomenal.
And that's it.
Cooper Kupp is in your top 4.
CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown would be my honorable mention. And Debo, I guess.
Yeah.
What's funny with Cooper Kupp was he was one of the guys that's on my not in the 8, but in my 10. He was one of those because of injury.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only reason why I said that. But
that's amazing that Cooper Kupp is in his 4, and Cooper Kupp's not in my 7.
yeah, you're wrong, Jason.
I could be wrong. That's fine. Here are my, but with injury is why I've got Cooper Kupp as like an amazing number 2, but could be number 1 if he remained healthy. And that's the only reason. Like if he's healthy, he's a number 1 receiver. He's
totally
unbelievable.
Fair.
He's top 3 if
totally
healthy.
Fair.
He is top 3 if healthy.
And the
I
only reason I even put him in is the Triple Crown too. So people could argue with me about that.
No,
but
I get that. Let me ask you this on Cooper Kupp, just because this popped into my mind. Does what Puka Nacua did as a rookie, does that take away anything from Cooper Kupp if you say, like, system and playing with
Didn't see
Stafford?
Van Jefferson doing that. I didn't see Van Jefferson or Josh Reynolds.
Right. So it could be just like Puka Nacua was badass.
Yeah, I think Puka Nacua was badass.
Yeah, okay.
It
just popped into my head.
That's a good point, though, Jason, actually, really.
It's a great point, but I think they're very similar players, too. So you could also say maybe their role or their fit in that scheme gives them a lot of opportunity to succeed. But I do think Puka's a badass.
But when Puka, go ahead, Dylan.
I was going to say, the one thing, though, is that Cooper did do it with Jared Goff. So, like,
that's true.
So that's the only thing Puka hasn't done, which he can't also ding Puka for that because that's all he's known is Matt Stafford. So in a couple of years, he'll probably have to do it.
Well, I will say, too, that when Cooper Kupp came back, he was the guy getting the targets and the yards when he came back. He was healthy. So it wasn't, Puka Nacua is still dominating with even with Cooper Kupp out here. It was a good portion. I haven't looked at each and every game, but I just remember thinking back, like Kupp's back. Okay, well, there's Cooper Kupp getting his targets and everything. But he was right on the cusp. And if healthy, I don't think there's any doubt. He's somebody that's in my true number 1s. So adding to the list of Dylan, and I guess taking Cooper Kupp and putting him at number 2 for me, a number 2 receiver. So I had Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, and this is no particular order. I'm throwing in Jamar Chase. I'm throwing in CeeDee Lamb.
Sure.
I threw in A.J. Brown.
Yep.
And after much contemplation and looking at different things, I threw in Amon-Ra.
Thank you. You did that for me, didn't you?
You convinced me.
Thank you.
I don't mind getting convinced one way or the other, but it made me step back and go, all right, let me look a little closer at this.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm putting Amon-Ra in my in my 7. What I feel like are true number 1 receivers in the NFL. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 different guys after that I feel like are in the mix of being number 2s on the cusp of could be with certain circumstances be a number 1.
That's completely fair. I went Tyreek, A.J. Brown. Again, no order. Yeah. Tyreek, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Ayuk.
So you added
Ayuk was my number 8.
Okay.
Then the 2 guys who I think deserve it, it's more or less longevity coupled with maybe they're not going to be a top 5 wide receiver, but I do think they're considered wide receiver 1s. 2 guys, Cooper Kupp. That's based on health, right? Just because he got injured, that's the same thing as saying, okay, well, is Marvin Harrison Jr.? Like, no, but I think Cooper Kupp deserves to be in the wide receiver 1. And then my number 10 was actually Mike Evans. If you go 10 straight years with 1,000-plus yards, how else do you not say it's a wide receiver 1?
I went back and forth on Mike Evans a good portion, and Evans and Ayuk were the ones that I sort of waffled on back and forth, and I decided to leave them just on the other side. But again, if somebody argues Evans or Ayuk or Cooper Kupp, I'm not going to dig my heels in and go you're totally wrong, because 10 straight years of 1,000 yards receiving is pretty legit. But he was just on the outside. Of number 1 for me, but he's right there.
And I think Brandon Ayuk is one of the more underrated wide receivers. It's interesting. The analytical community has him as like the number 1 wide receiver in football, and I'm like, that's a little too much. That's a little much.
Maybe Evans' age is holding him back.
I've said the same thing for years, and somehow he keeps proving me wrong. So I am not going to be the dumbass any longer. Mike Evans is number 10.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna bet on him having 1,000 yards receiving next year. That's just what he does.
Now you're going to ruin it for us. So thank you.
Well, there you go. Now I'm going to prove he's number 2.
So I guess actually my last
an amazing number
5 I had that were on the cusp. I guess 6. If I want to throw in actually Jalen Waddle, who I think is on the cusp, not quite, but we won't know.
He's in my list of guys that are number 2s. That in certain
I think he's an elite number 2.
Yeah.
But there's 5 guys I think that could be considered number 1 that I think this year is potentially make or break. Okay. Garrett Wilson for the Jets. I think Garrett Wilson is phenomenal. It's tough for him because we've not seen the quarterback play, but we'll see this year with Aaron Rodgers. I think this could be the season where we go, okay, he's legit wide receiver 1. DK Metcalf. I consider him more of an elite wide receiver too, almost like the cutoff, like he starts that list, right? I think DK Metcalf is on that because he's also not had great quarterback play. He's had good quarterback plays, solid, serviceable, but not great. Michael Pittman Jr., I think perpetually underrated,
okay.
man.
Wow.
I think he is one of the more
I didn't have
underrated.
him in that group of the next 18 guys.
Bad take. You'll see this year with Anthony Richardson, I think, a guy who can actually get the ball downfield. Gardner Minshew had a great year with him last year. DJ Moore with the Bears, I think DJ Moore. And then my final one was Chris Olave.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Olave. Yeah. I think Chris Olave, this is that, the next year. I need to see a couple years of these guys, right? I need to see a couple years of Garrett, a couple years of Michael, a couple years of Chris.
So I had all of those guys except Michael Pittman in my group of guys that I think are right there. Certain circumstances could be absolutely a number one receiver.
Sure.
I'd already mentioned Evans and Ayuk. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle.
Sure.
Garrett Wilson, and I'm right along with you with the quarterback situation that if Aaron Rodgers goes and has an Aaron Rodgers season and Garrett Wilson goes and proves that with a quarterback he's doing all, then yeah, I can move him up to a number one. But we haven't seen it consistently because he's been hampered by a quarterback.
And he's still been electric.
He's still been awesome.
With Zach Wilson.
Yeah, right. I also threw in, these are number twos, but I think he's on the downside of what was previously a number one to where he's a number two is Stephon Diggs.
I agree.
I think, but
completely
he
agree.
used to be that number one.
I think the Texans have 3 wide receiver twos right now.
Oh, Nico,
by the way,
Nico's
I
in
think
there,
Nico Collins. I think Tank Dell. By the way, I think Tank Dell for sure is.
I'm not there with Tank yet, but
big Tank guy.
Yeah.
I think Texans have legit 3 great wide receiver twos. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm with you on Nico and Diggs. Devontae Smith, I've got him in that group that, if A.J. Brown wasn't there, would Devontae Smith be, a true number one?
Agreed.
I don't know that he would be that guy where A.J. Brown is, but I think the Eagles have a true number one and a guy who's an elite number two on the cusp of could be, in that group of number one wide receivers. I think Terry McLaurin is consistently underrated and consistently consistent. I think he's a really good number two on the cusp of maybe being a number one. Olave, I had him in my group of guys as well. DK, I had him in the group as well. Let me see. DJ Moore, I think I may have mentioned that I already had him in that group as well.
Byron Pringle?
Yes, Byron Pringle. And then I got a couple of guys that are, maybe one of them, Stephon Diggs, on the used to be a number one for sure, and now sort of on the back end of being a really good number two. Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, because I think he's a really, really good number two. But he used to be a number one.
Yeah, no, Hopkins was the best
I think
wide receiver.
I still think he's a legit number two that's right there around hovering of, is he a number one or is he a number two? I think he's still a guy who's legit as a number two that's sort of in the group of guys that could be number one. And I have him there just because he's on the other side, so he's that close because he was a number one for a number of years.
Sure.
So I mentioned McLaurin, DJ Moore, Olave, and then a couple of, Debo, I think, is there because of all the things he can do. I don't know that Debo will ever be a true number one, even if I say he's on the cusp, because I don't think he's a guy that consistently man coverage, if he's the focus as a wide receiver specifically, the other, guys on the other side, that he's going to be the one that's consistently getting open against man coverage and press and things like that. So, but a couple of younger guys that I think could, in the next year or two, jump into the group of either elite number two or are they legit number one? And a guy I mentioned, Puka, after 1 year what he did, and then I threw in George Pickens. I think what Pickens has done, it's early though. As I said, younger guys that could be in that group because
I think
Pickens,
Rashee Rice, by the way, is
here, Jason, on the Pickens.
We'll see.
You guys are that man. Are you guys that bullish on him? Are you guys that bullish because of what he's done, or because of where he was? I think sometimes Chiefs fans rate him higher because of where he was drafted, and the Chiefs did not get him.
No, what he's done in Pittsburgh with rough quarterback play.
Yep.
Sure. And he's still, if I'm giving Garrett Wilson the benefit of the doubt,
but Garrett Wilson, I think, has produced more, has been better, has looked better, because George Pickens, fair or not, he's had someone underneath to help him. Deontay Johnson's helped him.
Yes.
They've had a couple other receivers. I'm drawing a blank right now. They, even at tight end, Pat Freiermuth, when healthy, has been there to help him.
Their offensive coordinator was like a NAIA coordinator. So, there's the issue.
I think he's got a chance. So, over the next year or two, I think he's somebody that's at least in the group of guys that, to me, are hovering around. Could they be elite number two / right on the border of number one? But I've got 7 true number one receivers to me in the NFL.
And I'd like
after that,
Oh, go ahead.
I think you got a bunch of number twos, and whether they're elite number twos, they're number twos, and those guys are going to be getting $25, $26, $27 million per year, Dylan.
Insane.
I was going to just add Jamar Chase and make it even 5.
For you, Jamar Chase for
yep,
you?
I forgot
Yeah.
him.
No, that's fine.
But I think
you
like
forget
my
that
5
guy.
are the people that I would be willing to reset the wide receiver market for as ones. Like everyone can be
Yeah,
ones
right.
like on your list. Like I agree with both of your lists actually, but my list was more like who would I pay more than Justin Jefferson? And that's
Yeah.
very small.
Yeah, Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, Adams,
Cup.
You say Cup.
You say Cup, I say Coop.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Lamb is an interesting one
Yeah.
because him just bursting onto the scene over the last year and a half, and realizing all of those things that we thought about him when he was, coming out of Oklahoma of what he could be, and Dallas taking him, and the unknown about what they're going to do with Dak. And CeeDee Lamb is going to get a lot of money this offseason.
Yeah. If
I'm
Justin
gonna
Jefferson
guess
didn't exist, CeeDee Lamb would be that's who we would talk about.
He'd be the market.
Yep.
He would reset the market. I'm with Matt Verderame. I think Jerry Jones is going to do it from a Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboys standpoint and give CeeDee Lamb more money than Justin Jefferson got.
I'm with you. I think, as he was talking about, he likes that. Like, that's something that Jerry Jones almost hangs his hat on, right?
Yeah.
Like, I made him the highest paid wide receiver. Look at me throwing this cash around.
But does he have to pay Micah? Is that the issue that keeps him from doing this? Is how much money Micah Parsons is probably going to make next year?
Well, see, I think they're going to pay CeeDee Lamb. So what I'm thinking is, if you're Jerry, and I'm already going to pay CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson money, well, then I'm going to give him a little bit more just so I can say that my guy is the highest paid receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's still going to pay Micah Parsons. I'm just
I get what you mean.
I would pay Justin Jefferson more than CeeDee Lamb.
The name being highest paid more so than actually committing
Yes.
guarantee. Okay, yeah. I
Yes,
see what
for
you
sure.
mean. I agree.
Just the name that, my guy, CeeDee Lamb, is the highest paid wide receiver. Because if it was 34.9999, per year for CeeDee Lamb, and it's like, oh, he's so close, or 35.00001, and now he's gets more than Justin Jefferson. I could see Jerry Jones making sure that it was just right on the tip top there.
I agree.
And Jamar Chase, I have no clue what the Brown family is going to want to do in paying him.
Well,
and
they're
how
going to
much
have to
they're
sell
gonna
off
pay
a
him.
lot of advertising just to cover that. But
They got to pay a lot of advertising.
The field, the stadium, each seat gets its own spot. What seat are you in? I'm in the Hy-Vee 125 section.
The jersey patches, like the whole jersey could be an It could be a
NASCAR
Like,
situation,
entire
yeah.
They could have advertisements on the socks, on the pants, on the shoes. Of course, the NFL, so far has not necessarily allowed all of that. But I mean, if the Browns could do it, I think they would have advertisement pants. Like,
oh yeah, they'd be a
advertising
NASCAR.
on the butt.
Their players would be
Or the
NASCAR.
Skyline Chili Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, that would be on the rear end though, just because that's where you would see it most.
Naturally.
Yes. So 5 for Dylan, 7 for me, 8/10 for.
I
Sterling.
won. I got the most points.
Is that right? Well, I didn't know that's what we were going for.
Yeah, baby.
Damn it! I wish I knew the rules before.
I'm a winner.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone next.
If you're trying to save with massive discounts this month, Greenlight Dispensary has you covered. They're doing drops every Monday and Friday this June with deep discounts on flower, edibles, and vapes from local vendors. And today's the first Monday of June, so go into one of their 4 Casey area Greenlight locations today or check them out online at greenlightdispensary.com. You can use one of their AI bud tenders or an in-store bud tender, and they can help you select through the different discounts on their menu today. You can also save by going to greenlightdispensary.com and joining their loyalty program. I was able to save $10 with my points this weekend with my order. So go check out Greenlight every Monday and Friday this June and tell them that 810 sent you to check out the massive discounts they'll be having for many of their amazing products this summer. And remember, not all cannabis is flower. At Greenlight Dispensary, they have a bunch of different amazing products. They have topical creams, pain patches, oils, chocolates, gummies, chips, lemonades, infused sodas, baked goods, and more. The possibilities are endless. So go check out their drops all month long and check them out today and see what they're dropping at Greenlight Dispensary at one of their 4 Casey area locations. Bannister Road and 435, Nolan Road and Independence, 135th and State Line is my location, or Harrisonville, Missouri. Or check them out and order online at greenlightdispensary.com. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
this hour, we will talk with Josh Kaiser coming up on the other side of the break. We are hanging out at the Trent Green Golf Classic. Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City with the Trent Green Golf Classic. And 15 years and running for this golf tournament that Trent Green has been a part of it. We will talk with Trent coming up in the noon hour, get his thoughts on some Kansas City Chiefs, some NFL football, etc., and, of course, his relationship with the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City and all of the fantastic and great work that they do, especially with, we're talking about, kids that are battling different diseases. Over the weekend, Big Slick was in town and benefiting Children's Mercy, all of these things around town and people giving back and doing what they can to try to make lives better for children, for families, etc. So the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City and the Trent Green Golf Classic. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk some baseball with Josh Kaiser next. o'clock. We are hanging out at the Trent Green Golf Classic, Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City with Trent Green, and fantastic stuff that they do and all the money they have raised for Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. We're here till 2 o'clock. Let's talk some Royals baseball. They get the day off and then get set for a huge 3-game set in Cleveland against the Guardians. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, is our guest here in the zone. Josh, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Not on the golf course, which is unfortunate, but, all things considered, not too bad.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for you that you're not out here. Beautiful view. There's a nice little breeze, some overcast, so the sun isn't just, beating down on our heads or anything. So it is, it's beautiful right now.
Free beer?
Yeah, Sterling's got some free beer right now, so that's good. You know what? I'll say this, Josh. If it wasn't for that ninth inning yesterday, I'm not a drinker, but even I might have popped a couple open if they didn't find a way to get that thing done. We opened the show today, Josh. Well, we opened the show talking about Justin Jefferson because of that contract. But the plan was to open the show with what ended up being our second segment, that there are times in a season where a game feels bigger than just one of 162. Obviously, the beginning of the season, opening day, the opening series. Did you have that feeling going into yesterday's game that I did, that for some reason it just felt like it was a bigger game than just one game? Hey, you win, you lose, you show up the next day.
I mean, kind of. I've still kind of subscribed to the fact that you got to flush days no matter what happens the day before. You got to celebrate them or, lament the losses, but then move on and kind of respond and see what you're made of the next day. So in my head, that was kind of where I was at. Like, it's just another game. It's a good team that we're going against. You got to go out there and prove it again to see what this team's made of. But at the same time, they still have that haven't been swept record going on this season, and I still want to keep that intact because I feel like we've had a lot of the fan base has kind of started to get a little more vocal about this, the struggles and worrying about the bottom dropping out of this. And I think if they got swept by a good team, there would be a lot of capital F fraud talk being thrown around both nationwide, but also potentially within this fan base. So when you kind of look at it like that, it did feel like it was a little bit more important. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it was still just another game.
Because there's one part of it that we, look at this Royals record and their standings, and obviously we're paying close attention to what the Guardians are doing and where the Royals are in the division. But if we're talking about this team simply making the playoffs, while they have struggled, I think over the last 4 or 5 days, they've simply lost a half game on, what would be securely in the playoffs as a wild card. So they were 6 games up a number of days ago, and now they're 5.5 games up on making the playoffs. While they're 4 games back in the division, 5.5 games up in making the wild card. So that's always something to keep in mind. And that's where, look, this is a huge series with Cleveland, but wins along the way, they matter, obviously, each and every time out. For me, though, Josh, and I get what you're saying, where it's, hey, one game, flush it, move on. Win, flush it, move on. Loss, flush it, move on to the next game. Just the way they had been playing all week and coming close. And outside of Saturday's game, every single game last week, they had a chance in the ninth inning, or they won. They won that one game to not get swept by the Twins, but they had chances in the ninth inning, giving themselves an opportunity, but coming up short. On Friday night's case, coming up about 4 feet short, playing in one of the stadiums that wasn't a home run in. But a lot of other ones, that's a game-tying home run, and we're talking about one of the more miraculous comebacks in Royals history. But it was not to be because of the runs that were given up late. And again, yesterday, 1-1 game, Cole Reagan's dealing. Offense can't really get anything going. And then 2 runs in the 8th. Like, okay, there it is again. There's the backbreaker. Just can't get it done. And I joked with Sterling, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really glad, Josh, that I was close to, but I didn't tweet out going into the bottom of the 9th inning, looking forward to the Royals loading the bases, scoring 1 run, losing 3-2. Because that's what it's felt like all week. I didn't tweet it out, and I'm glad I didn't, because I would have looked foolish, or I would have just said, see, they responded to my stupid tweet.
Correct.
But that to me is sort of part of what yesterday's game was, because there are moral victories, and we're relentless, and we're making this other team work. yeah, relentlessness is cool, but winning is better. And that relentlessness turned into a win. And I think that matters in baseball to see it actually get done. And we'll talk about the Velasquez aspect of this. But just as a team standpoint, and maybe my feeling, Josh, is that it was much bigger because they came back and won, and because I sort of counted it as a loss once they gave up the 2 runs and they found a way to win. But that just it felt big for this team getting ready for Cleveland.
And that has been largely the story of the year, right? I mean, there's only been maybe, we're game 56, 57, and there's only been maybe 10 that they've been truly out of it. And even when they go down, like on Friday night, and you think that this game's over, they just got paper cut to death, and we're dead in the water, we'll see you tomorrow. And they still responded. I thought that response was even more so meaningful than even yesterday's win. Nick Lofton almost got a win in his debut in pitching, which I was just looking up FIPs across the board, and he has like a 3.14 FIP, which is hilarious. I love that. Very, very fun. But yeah, you're right. It's been largely how this whole season has been, even outside of the win-loss column. It's still built on a lot of moral victories and resiliency and responding. And I think that is, you can't quantify it like you said earlier, but it is a indicator of a cultural shift within that clubhouse, which I think is largely the most important thing that we've seen from this team so far. They aren't, they truly are looking to be competitors, contenders in this division and not in this league and in the MLB in general. And if you have that mentality within the clubhouse and then start to prove it on the field, then that's when you really start to see the changes being done. And we've talked about it multiple times that this team is exceeding expectations so much this season, seeing them take that step forward. That step forward was always about culture within that clubhouse. If they could fix that clubhouse and get a bunch of winners in there and figure out how to find ways to win, not necessarily like drop stupid games and stuff, that's in and of itself a step forward. But now it's adding up in the win column, and it's even like ahead of schedule. So I don't know how anybody can be super upset about how this is going so far. And if you want things to change and get a little bit better, that's fine. But largely this season has always been about resiliency, and we've been seeing that for sure.
Josh Kaiser is our guest. The answer is ultimately time will tell, but I do wonder, in your opinion, as you view this team and what Nelson Velasquez has done as of late, do you think this is something where he's turned a corner now? Matt Quatrero said yesterday that he's looking like the Nelson Velasquez of last year, where he's not trying to hit 500-foot home runs. He's got the easy power, and Friday night that swing in the ninth just looked like it was just easy swing. Maybe swing a little bit harder in that situation, unfortunately, because it fell just short. But the rocket that he hit yesterday, that felt like it was 15 feet off the ground, that was the laser to the top of the wall, 410. Just looked like he was out, beginning batting practice. Just, hey, let's warm up. Let's get some easy swings here. Work on legs and hips and easy swings through, easy hands. Let's just, that's and so hearing Matt Quatrero say, hey, that's the Nelson Velasquez that we saw last year. Do you think this is a turning point for him in this season, that he went through that really bad stretch of offense to where now he's getting back into a guy that's hitting extra base hits and doubles and home runs and a triple even, that he's coming through?
Yeah, it is so easy. And if you got that guy and he realizes that and he lives in that zone and he has that confidence, then, yeah, I think he can definitely turn a corner. It is fun to see him do this stuff. I'm not going to say that he's a different player than he was, but he does look better up there. He does look way more comfortable. So I think that is not nothing. At the same time, even within this season, we've seen the highs and lows from just about every player not named Bobby Witt Jr. or Salvador Perez. So as long as the offense can still function and they keep taking turns, who can be the one carrying? I mean, we've seen Garrett Hampson be the guy carrying this offense. So as long as we keep getting those guys rotating in and out and helping picking the other guys up, that's huge. And if that's Nelly Velasquez for the next week or two, great. If it's not, and this isn't a corner, then hopefully it's someone else. It has been. People have been stepping in and being that guy. So with Nelly in particular, he could be an easy one to do it just because of his power. But it's just to see this offense kind of having guys step up and be the one carrying the offense for a little bit and not completely, falling off the face of the earth.
It's nice talking about guys that aren't the regular names that we talk about all season long, like you mentioned, Bobby Witt and Salvi. But even with that said, credit where credit is due. Salvi had an amazing at-bat. A guy who likes to swing at stuff outside the zone, a guy who maybe gets antsy in those situations, and I don't blame him for getting antsy in that situation of, okay, are guys behind me going to come through, whether that's his thought process or not. But a 1-2 count, down by 2 runs in the 9th inning, and he didn't swing the bat. He fouled off one pitch. He fouled off a 3-2. But swung the bat one time over the next what ended up being 4 pitches and earns a walk. That was just a phenomenal at bat by Salvi to stay disciplined and his career overall as to where it's gone and taking a walk this year. But we've seen at bats where Salvi gets himself out, and in that situation down 1-2, and I'm just like, man, just put the ball in play somehow. Don't swing it an obvious ball, and he worked the count and got a walk. I think that was just a brilliant at bat by Salvi to just stay within. This is what they're throwing me. I'm not going to get myself out, and got on base and set up that Nelson Velasquez triple.
Yeah, and that's the kind of situation where that's what you want to bottle up as a coach. You want to realize, like, what happened within Salvi that really changed his career progression as a 35-year-old man. It is very strange. I mean, the metrics, the framing metrics, the plate discipline, which is, like you said, just out of this world, coming from left field. Being able to find and identify and put your thumb on what it was that got him to change, and then reproduce it to other guys and kind of get that contagious and help others find the key to unlock that. That's what's going to turn these small market teams into contenders. That's what the Rays do. That's what Cleveland has done. The Brewers are kind of underrated in how they're good they are at doing that. So it's really, really cool to see not only that it's happening with the organization, but with Salvi in particular. Like, he took all these things that everybody could, really use against an argument for making him a Hall of Famer, and said, all right, I'm going to flip this. I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing, and I'm going to do everything that you say that I haven't been doing well better. So it's just huge, the kind of career progression he's had, especially this year. So very fun to see.
How big of it a next couple of weeks is it for this team to battle not only the teams they're going up against, but losing Michael Wacha to a broken foot, the ball bounces off his foot on in the game. He still goes out there and pitches on that we find out has is fractured, which is incredible. It didn't sound like it was all that serious for Matt Quattrero. Like, it's going to be like, hey, this is going to be a 6 to 8 week injury or something like that. He sort of sounded like a pain tolerance type deal, and let that thing sort of go down from swelling and they can, rehab it that way. But who knows how long it's going to be. You're dealing with a fracture in a foot and a lot of different bones down there. What's these next few starts in that part of the rotation, and just Michael Wacha being around the team as well? We talk about those guys having those meetings when the guy comes off the mound. How crucial is it for this team over the next few starts to get through this without having a Michael Wacha? And we've talked about trying to find that depth in the rotation. Now Daniel Lynch will be starting on Thursday, the afternoon game.
I've largely credited this exceeding of expectations with that starting rotation. Michael Wacha has been a huge part of why that's the case, not just on the field, but off the field. Q even said beginning of the year that Michael Walker's leadership has been invaluable. So having that aspect gone, seeing who can step up both, can Brady Singer go from the 4 to the 3? Can Daniel Lynch become the 5 to the 4? Can Alec Marsh still be the 5 to the 4 guy, or the 4 to the 3 guy? That is going to be the question, and they could not have picked a tougher stretch to figure that out. Between, going to Cleveland, then they got Seattle, then New York, the Yankees, and then the Dodgers. And then kind of looking out beyond that, it's kind of a lot lighter. It's way lighter than we've seen most of this year so far going into the All-Star break. So if they can get through these next, 2 weeks or so, you're really going to be able to maybe take a breath and then not really worry too much about where Michael Wacha is at with his rehab. But you're really going to see what this team is made out of and how much of an effect Michael Wacha has been as far as like a leadership standpoint goes, to see who can step up both on the field and off the field. So really, really curious to see what happens with that in particular for sure.
Daniel Lynch had a really good start in the first go-around and filling in for Alec Marsh. Then he had a good start to his start, last week, filling in for a sick Brady Singer. we'll see what he does on Thursday after Lugo and Singer go the next couple of days. But I was talking last week about, what Chris Bubic is doing down in the minors, and when he's, fully healthy, what do the Royals do with him? Do they keep him as a starter at AAA and just let him be ready to go, if they need somebody? Or do they say, we need some help in the bullpen, and this guy is a good enough arm that he's going to help us, so let's figure out a way for him to help us up here? And now I look at it and it's like, okay, well, if Walker's out for an extended period of time, if it's a couple times through the rotation, if Bubic is then healthy enough to go, is he, somebody that they look to bring up and fill in that spot in the rotation?
I think you got to at least look at it, but I still like both with Lynch and Bubic and Bolin. I'm kind of not really expecting a lot and hoping that we get something from them that is productive. Chris Bubic in particular, just because guys are never usually – they can be effective without being completely back. And you could look like you're back in AAA and getting whiffs and doing what you need to do, but it's still not being major league ready. And I kind of have my worries about Chris Bubic until we see it. I think I'm always going to have those. There's not going to be anything in Omaha that he can do as far as like box score wise to alleviate those. But I think that eventually he could be a guy that could give you a smidge more upside than both Lynch and Bolin. But that's only when he is major league ready and healthy. So I don't know when that is. Hopefully that is around the All-Star break, in my opinion, that we could see that. But hopefully we aren't in a position where we're waiting for that. I hope Lynch can come up and give you some good starts. If not, see what Bolin's got for you. And then after that point, let's see where we are. Maybe there's some bullpen games, which who knows if you want to see that anyways. But there could be some options. There's some depth there that has a lot of question marks. But this is really the first time we're going to start to see it, and Chris Bubic is just another question mark, in my opinion.
Yeah, before Walker went down, one of the things I was talking about with Chris Bubic was, this team is going to be looking at bullpen help through the trade market. And J.J. Piccolo talked over the weekend just that. I mean, there's a reason he mentioned, hey, if we're looking for bullpen guys, there are other teams looking for bullpen guys. Like, oh, if you're looking for bullpen guys, maybe you are. Maybe you're not. I don't know. That's a big if. I don't know. But, he had mentioned that. And so before Michael Wacha went down, last week we were talking about Chris Bubic, and my view was, I don't know, you'd have to ask major league pitchers and doctors of what's better for the arm, for him to pitch every 5 days coming back from Tommy John, or pitching in the bullpen when you're on a sort of already installed pitch count because you're pitching out of the bullpen, so you're not going to have 150 innings over the course of the season. It's just by virtue of the game that your pitch count, your innings are going to be limited. If it's better to go that route, and if so, then hey, you two birds, one stone. You get help in the bullpen, hopefully with Chris Bubic, and you keep him on a pitch count all year. Then you go into the offseason, you stretch him back out and see if he can be a guy in the starting staff. With Kyle Wright coming back, you give yourself more options with the whole thing and see what you have. But that was before Walker went down. Now that Walker went down, maybe Chris Bubic is that guy, but I would still like to see them at least examine it from the standpoint of, we're going to be looking for bullpen help anyway. Is this somebody that is in-house that can help us out in the bullpen that we thought was going to be part of the starting staff? And, the first 3 starts of the season, it wasn't like he went through 12 starts and then got injured. It was 3 starts. He looked awesome. The new slider, maybe the new slider caused the Tommy John. I don't know. But, he looked good last year. I don't know how much value you can get out of him, but at this point, throw that guy in the bullpen, you got another lefty, and maybe you move on from somebody else, and whether that's Will Smith or you bring Terrence Long back down, or not Terrence Long, but Long. Can Terrence Long pitch out of the? Can Terrence Long pitch out of the?
Not
the
that
bullpen?
I know of.
Give him a
If Nick
shot,
Lawson
damn it.
Can do it, man. I think maybe Terrence Long has got something to offer.
Not as good as Terrence Howard, but yeah, I think he can do it.
I don't know. Let's give them all a shot, man. Lofton didn't give up a run. Maybe that's the secret, Josh. We just figured it out. Position players pitching out of the bullpen late in game. We've done it. We figured it out.
Yeah, we cracked it. Give us money, please.
Get it done.
As far as like to your point, yeah, I love it. Bottled up, reproduced it, get it to your point about Bubic. Like, if you can get 3 innings from him on his pitch count, and you piggyback him off of Alec Marsh, who maybe you don't want going beyond 4 innings anyways, if you can do that, that's 7 innings in a game of a pretty good, combination between a right and left that you're kind of going to give lineups fits that way. I can absolutely get on board with, having that as a plan kind of in your back pocket and when everybody's healthy and then seeing where we are. But yeah, I totally understand and get on board with not wasting live bullets as well. So if he's, his last appearance down in Omaha was 3 2/3, faced 13 batters, 1 hit, no earned, 7 strikeouts. The 7 strikeouts definitely jumps out to me. Obviously, only seeing that many guys, that's pretty huge. But I think there absolutely could be something there in the back half of the season where Chris Bubich could really be, someone like that Chris Young role there in 2014. Or even Brandon Finnegan at that point, what he was doing in the postseason in 2014. Maybe you come in and got him in a role, get him in some high leverage situations where he's piggybacking off of some righty that could really, make some managers make some decisions about hitting matchups and stuff. That could absolutely be valuable when you need it.
Last one for you. Josh Kaiser is our guest, One Royal Way podcast. What do you make of J.J. Piccolo's comments? I referenced him a little bit ago in him talking about the trade market and, hey, if a team is interested in a bullpen or if we're interested in a bullpen guy and somebody else, well, then you're going to have, pretty much every name that people are talking about, other teams are interested in as well. But he mentioned June being a month that, isn't as much competition to go out, that the market is sort of wide open. And he mentioned last year the Rangers trading for Aroldis Chapman. There wasn't a lot of competition that, the Rangers were involved in when they went and got Chapman from the Royals. And he was discussing that, of maybe that's a strategy to take. They traded away Chapman in June. Do you think J.J. Piccolo and this Royals team will start to get more aggressive in June before late July happens when there's a lot of other people that might be on the market while they're still, with 14 teams making the playoffs, trying to figure out who's buying, who's selling?
My, how the turntables.
Yeah, I love it.
June is a little different.
Yes.
We're out here talking like, man, the Royals may be a few pieces away from actually moving the needle a little bit. Let's see what we could do, as opposed to, well, it's over. Let's get this time bomb Aroldis Chapman off of our books so we can get him on a good roster. Let's go ahead and beat the market. Which, again,
Let's see if we can get an ace for him.
Let's go ahead and see if somebody is dumb enough to give us an ace. Let's see who it is. Happens to be the world champion. No big deal.
Okay, great.
But it is interesting. I came back from those comments kind of saying, like, I don't think there's going to be a lot. It's not going to be a huge move because he mentioned, like, he's going to have to make trades and win on the margins. Yeah. So he's not going to be going out and trying to acquire Alex Bregman or anything like that. And they may not even have the farm system to go and do something like that. And certainly you don't really want to sell the farm for potentially, what this 1 year can mean. Michael Walker could leave at the end of the year. We could have some, question marks in the bullpen once again. So I don't know if you're trying to put all your eggs in the basket, compromise the future value with throwing every top prospect that you had to go get a rental player like Alex Bregman. But there's plenty of guys like the Taylor Wards of the league you can go get and win the trades and the margins. So I don't know if he's going to do anything big, but I could totally see them trying to go acquire a guy like they did with James McArthur last year, where that was also a very early season trade that everybody's like, okay, I don't, whatever. That's whatever you want to do. I guess we'll just see how it works out. John Schreiber is another way. It was an off-season trade, but nobody really knew who John Schreiber was. And those are the kind of moves that I think that I could really see the Royals doing at some point to really bolster, especially the bullpen in that way. And it is kind of, tempting to see if a big acquisition in the back of that bullpen could do and transform and move all these high leverage back inning or late inning guys down a peg and really see a dominant bullpen out of that trade. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that, and we'll just see how it goes.
We'll see what happens. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast. Josh, appreciate the time as always, brother. Enjoy the baseball. Hopefully next week we're talking about a fun week of baseball and seeing where this Royals team is. Thank you, brother, as always.
Always. Love it. Appreciate it, boys.
Absolutely. There's Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, joining us to talk about this Kansas City Royal team off today and then a 3-game set against the Guardians, 3 of what is 7 that they'll be playing against Cleveland this month alone in June. This little 3-game trip against the Guardians and then back home for a longer extended homestand. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling, hanging out at the Trent Green Golf Classic. It is benefiting Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. More Zone right after this. Charities of Kansas City. A beautiful scene out here at Oakwood, and a beautiful day as well. A little bit of a breeze, which has been nice. The rain has stayed away, which is nice.
Don't
especially.
Jinx it, Jason.
I said has stayed. I didn't say
Has
is
stayed, but
has
you
stayed. That's past
you
tense.
talked about it, guy.
No, I didn't say.
Come on.
I didn't say it's gone. I didn't say that we're not going to have rain. I said it has stayed away. It's past tense.
It's like blind melon, no rain. Come on.
I'll take your word for it. I wish it would rain. No, I don't.
Why?
Sunshine, blue skies. Please go away.
Rain, go away.
Girl has found another.
Come
Gone
again
away.
another day when I need to.
With her went my future.
Oh.
My life is filled with gloom.
What are you singing right now?
Day after day, I stay locked up in my room. I know to you it might sound strange, but I wish it would rain. Let's talk about the weekend that was. You were out at Big Slick.
Yes, sir.
Over the weekend. It is an event that I have yet to go to, that I have always wanted to go to, but we had baseball tournaments going on this weekend, and so seeing some of the highlights and everything from it, and the cool stuff that was going on, the skit with the Bears, with Kelsey, and then Mahomes joining in, Kelsey going out for a pass from Mahomes and then tripping over and knocking over an entire table, and catching the ball, which is great. That was awesome, and of course all of the money that was raised for Children's Mercy Hospital. That was really cool. But you get the enviable task of being so much of a part of that that event every year.
It was electric, man. It was so much fun. I'm very lucky. My mom is the auctioneer, actually, so I help her out with that. And I've been lucky enough that we've been doing this since year 1, year 15 now. So we go backstage, go to a little after party action.
So give us all the details.
What
took place at the after party? Did everybody ask for off the record? Did you grant them off the record? If not, let's dish.
No, man, it's fun though, because you're on stage with these guys. You know, I'm watching Sheryl Crow perform as I'm kicking it on stage with Sudeikis and Paul, and I do want to give my mom a quick shout out here. It was her idea actually for Mahomes to throw the footballs to Kelsey.
Oh, really?
So I want to give her a shout out. That was her idea. They helped raise, I think, with that alone, those were $15,000 times 20. What's that? $300,000 right there. Wow. With that idea. So she just went to Holmes and Kelsey and said, "Hey, if you sign footballs, we'll give them away to the $15,000 donors." And they both were, again, gracious people. I mean, also Kelsey, who's running around in the crowd, getting balls thrown from Mahomes. Which, by the way, up close, Mahomes, that thing is a rocket. Even when he's just tossing them, you're like, "Oh man, that's got some zip on it." And Kelsey, every single time, just right between the numbers. I called him a gazelle because I saw him a little backstage. And I go, "Dude, you're a gazelle out there dodging those tables." He liked that one. He was laughing a little bit. But, man, it was amazing. They raised over $3.9 million for charity, $25+ million now in the 15 years they've done this, all for Children's Mercy, all for a great cause. And, the main cohorts are Jason Sudeikis, Paul Rudd, Rob Riggle, Eric Stonestreet, David Keckner, who was not there this year. He was at a high school graduation for one of his kids. And then now the newest one, Heidi Gardner. From SNL. And it's just getting bigger and bigger every single year. Again, it started off with like 6 people year one. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was hilarious. Going from year one to this.
Yeah.
I've been there watching the whole time. It was at the Midland, and they used to do the softball game on the Little K, actually. It was the Little K originally. Wow. And they had Joe Buck call at one time. They had, by the way, Matt Castle, I think, is the best softball player / wiffle ball player I've ever seen.
Really?
Including Mahomes. Mahomes is great. Matt Castle, wow.
Did he play on Friday?
No, this was a long time ago.
Okay.
Surprisingly, Matt Castle no longer.
Coming around to those big slicks?
Not as much. Mahomes, I think, kind of gets the cake for that one.
That would make sense.
But
the current quarterback of the Chiefs?
But you know how popular Sudeikis and Paul Rudd are. They're 2 of the biggest movie stars in the world, right? From Kansas City.
Yeah.
From here. They get such a loud ovation. When Kelsey walked out and then Mahomes walked out, it's like you're at Arrowhead. I could not explain. Like, you're looking at some of the biggest movie stars in the world, right? Right there on stage. They get loud ovations. Then all of a sudden, Kelsey and Mahomes, and it's just such a different level, the appreciation Chiefs fans have, and just DeBear skit with George Wendt, obviously from Cheers, was great, and Kelsey is such a natural, man. Like, Kelsey is such a people pleaser too.
Yeah,
just great event.
Dude, I've always wanted to go to that event, but just sort of watching and all the people that they get to participate, like. and this isn't to say like they're not as important because they helped out, they were part of it, but
Sure.
you get Stranger Things, like the cast of Stranger Things shows up, and how cool is that? Like they're going around they always visit Children's Mercy and go and visit different patients. But if you're a younger kid, like a teenager, and the cast of Stranger Things shows up, like that's got to be pretty damn cool, because that's such a cultural phenomenon over the last 5 to 10 years.
And they're all such, again, from all my interactions with people, I've been very lucky to talk with and hang out with, and a lot of times drink beer and eat barbecue with. They're very nice. Like, they're not just doing this because, as you're mentioning, even during the actual event on Saturday, the big event, why everyone comes in to an extent, to raise all this money, they're sitting on stage, but they're just hanging out. They're not doing some acts. They're not part of all the skits. They're literally just there hanging out. But why they come is for the kids. They come to help raise money and donate their time, even if they're not getting, quite frankly, hardly any recognition. On the actual big event, they do it because they care. And that, to me, is so impactful. Adam Scott, very famous right now. Not the golfer, the actor Adam Scott. By the way, a lot shorter than you would think. I thought he was like 6'2". He's like 5'6".
Interesting.
But just a little tidbit there.
Did you tell him that?
No, surprisingly I didn't. Great head of hair on that guy,
I thought
though.
You were.
Great head of hair, though, which makes him look a little taller too. But just again, Adam Scott wasn't doing a whole bunch there, but because he wants and cares about the kids and donates his time, even if he's not getting the SNL guys, he's not doing the hot wings on stage. He's there because, again, it's raising money for a great cause. Will Forte, if you know Will Forte at all.
That video is great.
Which Will Forte video did you see?
The one of him jumping in the Crown Center fountain.
Yeah. Will Forte is an electric guy. That guy's awesome.
Well, I hope he wasn't electric in the fountain.
McCruber, if you will. He raised by himself for one of the things that he gave away, which was actually a funny one. It was almost a throw-in. It was just you spend a day with Will Forte in L.A. There was nothing like everyone is like Mahomes jerseys or like Peter Schrager and stuff. That Peter Schrager's event for $250,000, by the way. Peter Schrager's event.
Make some
hay. Go up on the bay. I just may.
Play with some hay.
Like Peter Schrager helped raise $250,000. By the way, I told him he knows ball. For all the Chiefs fans out there, nice. I said thanks for knowing ball, and he talked about how I don't get why the national media keeps picking the Chargers. He told me that, so that's pretty funny.
That's cool. Glad you asked him to come on the show. But go ahead. Keep going.
Well, we talked a little bit about it.
I bet you did.
Jason, come on.
Go ahead.
Come on.
You were telling a story.
But so Will Forte raised $140,000. He sold it 2 times, just 2 days.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
And he also he jumping in the fountain was to raise money. Somebody had there was an auction, and they part of the auction was somebody paid for him to jump in the fountain and sing a song. that was just part of the auction. Like, he raised money just by doing something crazy like that.
But the fact that Mahomes and Kelsey, I think again, just so impressive. The donation of their time, their money, their resources. The fact that they are very generous and they understand, they get it, right? Like I think that's such an important thing is they get their impact, and especially on an event like this, that they understand that people want to be around them, that they're so synonymous with the city now, that an autographed jersey will go and raise so much money that they will go make sure on stage they're signing stuff on stage and then donating this.
$250,000.
It was for it was to the home opener. Against the Ravens, right? Season. It was you go to the All-Star or the Pro Bowl, which Schrager had a funny thing. Which, all right, Mahomes and Kelsey, you might not know by the Pro Bowl because you've never been to the Pro Bowl because you're always in the Super Bowl.
But you get those autographed jerseys.
You get the jerseys.
Opening day.
The guy hung out on stage the rest of the night with them, and like just the ability to again just to get it and understand that them being there helps raise that much more money. I think we don't always. We sometimes talk negative. Like, we've talked about some of the negative things that have happened this offseason in general. Like, this is what I think is so positive with some of these guys. Again, the biggest star in the entire NFL, both of them, and they both showed up for an event for Children's Mercy.
Well, it's one of the things that, I love about those guys. So, like, Sudeikis and Paul Rudd and Rob Riggle, you mentioned, Eric Stonestreet, Heidi Gardner. It's awesome that she is now a part of the hosting of that because, her star has grown so much over the last few years, and it's a homegrown talent. You know, we talk about in sports all the time, homegrown talent. These people were literally homegrown talents here in Kansas City. But the great part is, you know, the pride they have from being from Kansas City, the pride they have into continuing to give back to Kansas City because, you know, they're in Hollywood now, Hollywood kid, you know. So Paul Rudd, Sudeikis, those guys can go anywhere in the world, and they would be the most famous person in that room more than likely, 99% of the time, because, you know, you're talking about Ant-Man and Ted Lasso, right? Eric Stone Street on one of the biggest, you know, sitcoms in TV history. Rob Riggle has been all over the place in all these different stand-ups and movies, and The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and different movies with Will Ferrell, etc. So these famous individuals, and Heidi Gardner, star of Saturday Night Live right now, and different movies as well.
And bringing, again, all of her SNL, a lot of SNL friends, bringing 5 SNL cast members for
it's
this.
Awesome. And just the pride they have in being from Kansas City. Jason Sudeikis talking all the time about Kansas City. Paul Rudd talking about Kansas City. Mahomes' first MVP. He was the one that presented at the NFL Awards, the MVP going to Patrick Mahomes. And they didn't have to do this, 15 years ago? No. You know, an idea of, hey, let's get together and see if we can raise money. Hey, let's use our star power to see for something good. Let's use our, besides getting the next gig, besides, you know, not having to audition anymore.
Sure.
You know, let's use our star power so that we get offered the script instead of just, I got to go and audition for it. And to come back here and to see how it continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. It's unbelievable.
Let's start with jokes about Gene Lamont and Bruce Chin.
Oh, yes.
Come on, Chin! Have now evolved into raising $3.9 million for charity.
And $25 million overall for Children's Mercy. Yeah. It's just it's awesome. Another great, you know, Kansas City institution. But I just love like that pride that they have of being from here. And giving back as much as they have over the years and coming back and bringing everybody with them so that they can experience Kansas City as well. Somebody who has experienced Kansas City, and certainly there's a lot of pride that Chiefs fans have in this man when he quarterbacked the Chiefs, and since then staying in the Kansas City area. It is Trent Green joining us here on the show. Trent, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up is I just finished the morning round. Thank you guys for being out here. And I see you got like a plate of food. I'm like, wait a second.
Oh, they dropped off Q39 for us. I was trying to eat.
Crush them, Q39.
Sterling just sat here and ate while I filled an entire segment, and he was just eating, and so I've been trying to nibble throughout the breaks. But,
Q39, the job they've done for us and what they've been able, you know, they have not said no to anything. You know, it started off the number. At first it was feeding the golfers, and, okay, now we got to feed the golfers and the volunteers. I mean, it's just it's been amazing what they've done for this golf tournament, the amount of money they save, the donations, you know, the food that they provide, and it's world class. So it's amazing. They do a great job.
We're here at the Trent Green Golf Classic, Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City.
Yes.
15 years now for you doing this. Looking back at your first time sort of teaming up with Ronald McDonald House Charities, did you have an idea that 15 years later you'd still be doing this and over $3 million raised for Ronald McDonald?
It's crazy, and just thank you to everybody in the Kansas City community for supporting this. My wife and I have been involved with Ronald McDonald House Charities, since the mid-'90s when we were in D.C., and that's how we first got involved with it. And we thought, what a great charity it is. You're providing families an opportunity to alleviate some of the pressure, you know, they're dealing with their sick children most of the time. You know, so in the D.C. area, that's how we got started with it. A couple different fundraisers with them, and then as we moved around, and then when we decided to make Kansas City home, you know, when I was playing, I had my own tournament that was supporting some of the stuff we were doing. And Ronald McDonald House was one of the charities we were supporting the golf tournament with. But then it got to a point when I retired from playing, and Ronald McDonald House had their own tournament we partnered together. Yeah. And so this is the 15th year that we've been partnered together. It's been amazing. As you said, over $3 million. I think we're now over $3.5 million in that time frame. And just the great work that they do, the relief that they give families that are dealing with sick children. And, you know, I tout the Ronald McDonald House here in Kansas City as the best in the nation. I think so. There's 3 houses all right across the street from each other down on Cherry Street, which is by Truman Medical Center and by Children's Mercy. They now opened a fourth house, which is in the hospital, which is in Children's Mercy Hospital. Wow. There's a walking garden in between two of the houses. I mean, it's really like their own little campus, and it's always filled up. That's how many families need the help. So all that we're raising today, everything goes back to them. We try and keep costs as low as possible. Q39 is a big reason for that. Yeah. Providing the lunches, like I said, not only world-class food, but the amount of money it's saving the house and saving us as a tournament from an expense standpoint. And a number of different sponsors that we have that are out here that have donated their time and money and product to help this, make it one of the best. We think it's the best tournament in Kansas City, charity golf tournament, Kansas City, but it's definitely one of the best.
Great course as well. I mean, you have some nice weather, especially if you're going downwind. Did you hit some bombs today with that wind? Or?
Wind was rough.
So I sit on hole number 11, which is a par 3. And I sit there all day. So year number 15, the first couple of years I would always play with a sponsor, one of the title sponsors. But then there were a lot of people I never got to see. So we had some requests from people early on that said, hey, is there a way we could see Trent? I mean, it's his tournament, his name's on it, that kind of thing. And so we decided years ago for me to sit on a par 3, play a par 3 with everybody. That way I got to see every group, take pictures with every group, tell stories with every group. That's why it's noon and my voice is leaving me already.
You're getting dialed, too.
It's
same swing, you're getting dialed.
It's the same, so I am not downwind. I'm going into the wind. And our hole is the Super Bowl hole. So if you get a hole in one, you get two airline tickets, you get hotel room, and you get 2 tickets to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
We had somebody get within, I'm going to say 18 inches.
Oh.
I went down and measured. It's probably about 1.5 feet, so 18 inches.
It was you. It was you,
It
wasn't
was
it?
not me. I probably, out of the, I don't know, what do we have, 25 groups this morning? The closest I got was maybe 8 or 10 feet. I had a couple like that, but I also lost a couple. I also lost a couple of golf balls. So yeah, I enjoy golf. I like golf. I don't spend nearly enough time at it. But maybe someday that'll be more of a priority. But I do love it, and I'm glad this is a great way we're able to get a bunch of my former teammates, get a bunch of local Kansas City celebs to come out and help support Ronald McDonald House Charities. We'll have more this afternoon. And it's just really a great day of golf. And I don't know if you guys have mentioned, I'm sure you have, my wife started helping the house also with her pickleball tournament. So there'll be a pickleball tournament at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And this is only the second year we've done it. You mentioned Oakwood, and what a great job Oakwood Country Club has done with their golf course. But they have brand new pickleball courts. So they came to us a year ago and said, you guys have this all day. We've got the morning and the afternoon golf time. Nobody's using the pickleball courts. Do you want to add that? My wife's a tennis player. We've played pickleball a handful of times. They asked her, she really couldn't say no. Well, actually,
I'm playing pickleball tonight. I'm going to swing in. I'm going to warm up with Jason.
You want to know why?
I don't think you want to. I've got an Achilles that's about to go. I'm not going to do that.
She's not a golfer, but I always would ask her. I don't want to use the word make her. I would always ask her to golf. I said, put some of your tennis friends together. Just come out and play. It's, par's your partner. It's best ball. Just come out and have fun, and so she usually did. So this would be the one time a year she'd golf. So when they said, hey, do you want to do this pickleball thing? She's like, do I have to golf and play pickleball? They're like, no, you can just do pickleball. She's like, I'm in. I got it. So, yeah, she's
that's great.
She's got that this afternoon. So we have a competitive division and a rec division. A bunch of teams signed up. This is, like I said, the second year doing it. So, another way to raise money for the house.
We're talking with Trent Green, and 30 years you guys have been involved with the Ronald McDonald House charities, whether it be in D.C. or here in Kansas City. And one of the conversations Sterling and I were having before you came on was, just this weekend overall. So Big Slick's going on for Children's Mercy. You guys are doing this for Ronald McDonald House, and sort of that pride that people have in the city. And I've always been curious, you as a quarterback, a face of a franchise, was there a feeling of responsibility that, okay, I have to do this? This is part of just sort of giving back, that, it's an expectation of me? Or was there a part of you growing up that it was okay, if this ever happens for me, then this is something I want to do. I want to be involved in these things because, Paul and Jason and Eric and Heidi, they don't have to do that with their time. They do it because they want to do it. You don't have to be out here playing golf today. You do it because of the connection with the Ronald McDonald House. But growing up, was it something that you thought, this is what I want to do if I ever make it in the NFL? Or you got there and felt like, okay, now I sort of have a responsibility with the name to give back.
Well, speaking of the pickleballer,
yes,
she walks up right now. There she is.
That's right.
My wife Julie just walked in.
Yes.
So yeah, this was always something that was really important to us. It wasn't something that we felt like we had to do, or but we felt like it was the right thing to do. We felt like we wanted to do it, but there wasn't pressure to do it. You know what I'm saying? It was more like, as you guys know my story, I was an 8th-round pick. I was cut a couple times. It took me forever to become a starter. And when I finally got that contract and that money, we were volunteering our time way before we could volunteer any money, just because of the position that we were in and being in professional football, being in the NFL. And so it was more of volunteering time. Now it's a combination of time and money. And we always thought that was an important, that's the way we grew up. We both grew up in Christian households and giving back, and that was a part of it. Our faith was a big part of it as well. We had to narrow things down because initially we were trying to help everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so then when we got here to Kansas City, we dialed it in on Ronald McDonald House Charities, Children's Mercy Hospital, the YMCA, because I grew up in the YMCA, so we have a Challenger field that we helped them build a number of years ago up north. And then we have the reading centers, the Hike Reading Labs with Phoenix Family. So we have 5 reading centers through Phoenix Family, help instill the key to education. So we have 5 reading labs around. So those are the things that we kind of dialed in on. The education part of it, my wife Julie was an education major and teacher. That's what she graduated her degree was with. And then the Y, like I said, I was involved with. We tied together for 30-some years now with Ronald McDonald House. So there was a lot of things that hit close to home for us that we wanted to be involved in. And Kansas City was that spot, right? This is where we wanted to raise the kids. We moved back here after being traded in 2007, finished up in 2008 in St. Louis. I grew up in St. Louis, but everybody wanted to move back.
Yeah.
So we came back here and partnered up with Ronald McDonald House Charities and just diving into the community. And I don't want to get her to start crying over there, but now we're empty nesters.
Yeah.
As of yesterday.
It was more pickleball time. She's like, more pickleball.
As of yesterday.
Yeah.
So Janelle,
my
our youngest, we just dropped off this weekend at the University of Cincinnati. She's a volleyballer, so workouts start today. She's getting her first workout in today. Classes start today. She started just one summer class while she's there before the fall semester kicks in. But yeah, so we're driving home yesterday. We get home last night. It's been an emotional 48 hours. So great for us to be out here today. So far the weather's cooperating with us. Giving back for a great cause, and appreciate you guys being out here helping support it.
I like that she's going to Cincinnati as a Chiefs fan, so she'll be there with Bengals rocking the Chiefs gear. That's great.
Oh,
helping Travis.
She made it. She made it very clear. We told Travis when she committed. I reached out to Travis and said, "We got a Bearcat in the family."
That's great.
He and his brother have done a bunch for the university. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. With I think they made a $5 million donation to the athletic department to help the student athletes with mental health. Which is incredible. What an incredible donation on their part. So they're fired up that she's going to be a Bearcat or is a Bearcat.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's in the Big 12, so we're going to have some close matches. KU and K-State go to Cincinnati this year, so we'll have a match at Iowa State that we're going to get up to, and we'll probably get to quite a few others as well.
That's
All of them.
Every of the matches.
That's a funny story. I said to her that the Big 12 schedule came out, but not the full schedule. The Big 12 schedule came out, and it's all over the place. Like Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. There's even a game in Utah on Sunday, which I definitely can't make. And I said, hey, we got to figure out travel and figure out which matches we're going to. And she looks at me and she's like, I don't know what matches you're going to, but I'm going to all of them. And I was like, well, you're going to have quite the travel itinerary that you got to put together, because now the Big 12 is coast to coast and all over. But yeah, as empty nesters, we can do that now. But I'll have to balance that out with wherever CBS is sending me for football.
Yeah, that's true.
What is it about KC? Because you're not the only one. It seems like a lot of Chiefs players who had some stops here, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not the longest tenure.
Right.
A lot of them still come back and end up in Kansas City. What is it about either the city or the organization that draws you back?
Well, I think first off, it was the organization. You know, when we got traded here in 2001, what an impact Lamar Hunt had, Carl Peterson had. You know, Dick Vermeil was obviously the head coach. Big reason why I was traded here. And then once we got involved in the community, my wife and I are both Midwesterners. We met in college at Indiana. She and her whole family are from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I grew up in St. Louis, so it's felt right. You know, it just felt right. But it started with the organization. Then as we got more and more involved in the community, our daughter was born here. So all three kids were raised here, other than those couple years that I was away going to a different team. But so for the most part, this is the community we want to live in. We like the people. It's a big little town, right?
Yeah,
You get enough big city stuff. That's why Big Slick is as successful as it is. You know, you talk to Stone Street and Riggle and Sadek, all those guys, they love coming back here, and all their friends want to come here because they're like, we love going to Kansas City because it's just people are true, and it's you know what kind of quality of people you're getting. So yeah, we wanted to raise our family here, and we wanted to be a part of it, and so that's why we're here.
Well, we're all looking forward. I know that. Trent Green, the Golf Classic is where we are today, benefiting the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. Trent, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. I know you got to go back to the hole.
I do. I got to go back to the par 3, but you know what I'm hitting before I go? Q39. I'm hitting a plate of that on my way back out. So, yes, thank you guys for being here. You guys are the best.
Thank you, Trent.
Always supporting everything, not only the Ronald McDonald House Charities and the golf tournament, but all the stuff we've done over the years.
Yes.
You guys at 810 have been phenomenal. So keep up the great work, and I know there's a bunch of other stuff you guys support. But yeah, keep giving back. Keep giving back. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. There's Trent Green joining us. We're here at again the Trent Green Golf Classic. 15 years now, teaming up with the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City, and just a fantastic job. $3.5 million they have raised. They've got the golf tournament, and for the second year, they've got the pickleball tournament as well. As the empty nesters, the Green family. They have a Cincinnati Bearcat now in their family, so now they've got a connection to the Kelseys even more than just being a former Chief player and a current Chiefs player in
there
Travis.
we go.
There you go. We need to take a time out. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll get into the final hour of the show, heading up until 2 o'clock. We got some Learn Funniest Best coming your way in this hour. More Zone right after this. Teaming up with Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City, 15 years now that this golf tournament has taken place with Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. And for the second year, there is a pickleball tournament that is associated with it, which is very cool. Trick Green's wife is a tennis player and her whole life, and now is incorporating the pickleball aspect instead of her having to golf, which apparently she's not a big fan of golfing, but she's a big fan of pickleball and tennis. So that's going on.
Yeah, I feel like she'd be incredible at pickleball. She is very athletic.
Yeah. It's an athletic family, turns out.
Yeah, let's
look
be
at
real.
Look at their entire family. Kids playing
good doubles.
College football and college volleyball.
And she apparently played a lot of tennis. So her and Trent seem like a very nice doubles pairing.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Absolutely. Yes. Are they playing together in the pickleball tournament?
That'd be hilarious if they were.
mean,
they win their tournament. Well, looks like
so they require they cannot win if they make the championship round. The other team by default wins.
I loved him sitting on the par 3. I'm like, the one into the wind too. I'm like, Trent, give yourself some help, bud. Go pick the par 3 downhill.
No wonder
downwind.
They made that one the Super Bowl hole. Like, well, if you get a hole in one here, you get to go to the Super Bowl.
Hey, call that protected.
That's
you
right.
call that a protected hole. Although he did
That's
say
right.
someone's 18 inches, which is that's close. You know how nerve-wracking that's to be? Of like, oh wow.
To be that, yes.
Well, for the person who hit it, and also if you're giving away a trip to the Super Bowl, you're like, oh my gosh, this is. You're like, I always wonder like, how car companies do that.
Insurance.
You're sitting, you're like,
you just pay the insurance premium, and so maybe being down or against the wind, the insurance will a little less. They pay just a little less insurance. Like, what if we put it on this hole and that hole is against the wind, which can gust up to 25 miles an hour? I think we can cut it down by 10%.
Insurance comes. They pick up some blades of grass and throw it. They're like, no, that's way less now. That's 25%.
We'll take 10% off now. I didn't know you were going to do it on this hole for sure. Let's do it. The Kansas City Royals get a win yesterday, a big win, and they continue their string of not getting swept, which is sort of like damning with faint praise. But this year is a little different, with them being able to avoid those things and longer losing streaks. They've had a couple of 3-game losing streaks. They've responded with bigger wins along the way, and that was a huge one because they were down 3-1 in the ninth, and they get the single, the walk, the triple, and then the sacrifice fly to win that game, which, by the way, is a quick aside. When did we decide that the person that gets mobbed is the one that gets the hit no matter what, as opposed to like last night, or yesterday afternoon, everybody mobs Nick Lofton.
Yeah.
In short right field,
like a hockey assist or like a soccer assist. You're saying, maybe
like
mob the guy who has
Velasquez is right there at home.
Right.
Like Velasquez, is crossing home plate, and he turns around and looks, and everybody's in short right field. And he then has to run out there, and he's at the back of the pack, and everybody's, all around Nick Lofton.
The Gatorade on him though, on Velasquez. Or was
it was on Nick Lofton.
Which is hilarious.
He got the left. They took the lid and sort of sprinkled it on Velasquez because Nick Lofton got the shower.
Yeah.
In short, that's what I said. I was like, no. Like, I think we should be able to. I think we should decide who's getting this. It's different if it's first and second. You're down by a run with 2 outs. And that guy, hits a ball up the middle and scores the run. All right, let's go mob that guy because that was a huge out. All right, we can sort of decide. But Nick Lofton came through when he had to come through. But that ninth inning was about Nelson Velasquez.
Yeah, that was about Nelly. It was getting hot in here. And by the fact, he had to be tired. He just gave it his all getting to third base, which, by the way, a very underrated aspect of that ninth inning was him going to third and not staying at second because the inning – I'm not saying it would have played out the same way.
I think Nick Lofton bunts him over.
And maybe he bunts him over.
And now you've got 1 out with MJ
no
Melendez.
Yeah,
there were no outs. So now
right.
you got 1 out with MJ Melendez.
And MJ was going to hit.
Or no, it was MJ and then Fermin.
Yeah, and then MJ was going to probably strike out, so you have no idea how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we knew how that was probably going to play out because he was on deck and they were not.
So then it would have been
out.
2 outs, a man at third with Freddie Fermin.
Exactly. And so
if Fermin came through, then you go and mob Fermin.
Yes, then you do. but for because I was at that game last night or yesterday, and Nelson just ripped that ball. I mean, that thing was torched. And again, I keep going back and saying some of the underrated aspects of, Nelson going to third base and not staying at second and just saying, okay, I got my double. I tied it. I did it. he's not the fastest dude out there. He was hustling on his horse. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Royals, for all we want to talk about moral victories, the fact that they were able to come back a little bit the previous two games, which made them throw Robert Suarez, who, again, had to throw a lot of pitches, so who was not available that night. They bring in the lefty, and Vinny stays in, and he hit a ball 106 miles per hour to right field. Just a hard-hit single right there. Salvador Perez saw, 10 pitches, was able to draw a walk.
And up from 1-2. From a 1-2 count, and drew a walk.
I will point out, I was there. Salvador Perez did not see the ball well all night. He had that one little booty knock into center field, but you can tell when Salvi's on and when he's off. Salvi did not look like he was seeing the ball very well. So the fact that in that moment he was able to dig deep and draw a walk was massive. And then, of course,
second pitch,
Nelson just bombed that thing. That thing didn't get above 20 feet. That thing was a stinger. We're at a golf tournament. That is a definition of a stinger right there. Hitting a 1-iron and just pured it.
Let's hear from Matt Quatrero post game last night after the game was over, or yesterday afternoon after the game was over. Here he is talking about the significance of that win and coming through and what this team has done the last week and sort of culminating in them getting that come from behind win yesterday.
Very emotional moment for the team, I think, and just coming back, continuing to come back, didn't look good, all that, whatever narrative it is there. But really what I thought about right there was how important it was the first night and the second night to get in their bullpen again, because they didn't have Suarez or Estrada and those guys. And that's what playing every out of every game can do for you. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Matsui. He's got great stuff, but that's not how they usually finish games. And so you put people in uncomfortable spots, and sometimes it works to your advantage. And so these guys just continuing to play every out is what helped us in that situation right there.
Not that you haven't seen it, several examples of several times throughout the year, but just the encouraging thing to see, especially when things haven't gone the right way the past couple of days, just to see the fight in that last inning.
Yeah, that part doesn't surprise me. These guys, they just do it every single day, right? And whether we win or lose that game right there, we were going down fighting. And, to come through is obviously a lot better mood in the clubhouse and all of that. But the at-bat that Salvi, Vinny gets started. Salvi, that's an incredible at-bat. I think it was 0-2, at least 1-2. But just to continue to grind through that at-bat and work the walk, and then, everybody did their part. Blanco got a great read on the off the bat, and the ball bounces away because Merrill covers a ton of ground. So everything has got to go right. And like Annie said, Nelly didn't break stride.
The level of excitement after being a little bit of a funk, is that part of why it felt that way to win and just push through and get this?
Yeah. Because, I think somebody asked me earlier, and I can't be certain, but every one of the losses over this week, we've had the winning or tying run either on base or at the plate, whatever it is. So they are frustrating. We come here to win every day. So if you lose those games, no matter how well you play or whatever, it's not a good feeling to go home with the L. So to come out and do that and keep pushing and when, that's a really good team. And they played really well over these 3 days, and those 3 games could have gone either way.
That's a great point, and you brought it up too, Sterling, about getting to the bullpen. And it was a decision that was made by the Padres on Saturday night that when they were up 5-3 going into the ninth inning and they had Suarez getting warm because they were up 5-3, they were going to bring on the closer. They tacked on 2 runs. It was no longer a save situation. They're up by 4, and they stayed with Suarez. They brought him in. Now I think a little bit about the fact that just the night before they were up 11-3, and then they had to bring in Suarez in a position where you're talking about Suarez giving up the single to Fermin and almost the home run to Nelson Velasquez. So I can understand the standpoint of going, we're not risking it. We're winning this game. We got through it last night. I've already got him warm. We'll worry about tomorrow. I'm bringing in Roberto Suarez right now, which meant you didn't have him for Sunday. So without that Friday night, they faced Suarez yesterday. If they just go in 1-2-3 on Friday night, Suarez pitches yesterday in the ninth inning. And who knows what happens. Maybe we're talking about them getting swept right now. But that culmination, right, that buildup, that accumulation of getting to them on Friday, bringing your closer in, Saturday, staying with the closer because of what just happened the night before. Because it might have been, we didn't have to use them on Friday. Well, now we just added on 2 runs. We're not going to use them today. Now you got a fresh Suarez on Sunday to come in there and help out with a 3-1 game. Like those 2 nights had an impact on Sunday. And so, yes, it helped them break through. It's part of it. Those are the moral victories aspect. The moral victories mattered because they did that. If they wouldn't have done it against Matsui, it would not have mattered what happened on Friday and Saturday. But they did it against a guy who, as Matt Quattrero said, not necessarily in that position very often to finish out and close a game that you're up by 2 runs, not a game finished because you pitched the 9th in an 8-run game.
Sure. And that's why it's more of maybe less of a moral victory this year because there's actual repercussions in a positive way for the Royals, where if this was last year, who cares? Even if they win this game, it wouldn't have mattered, but they're not winning this game last year. They're just plain and simple. They're not winning this game. I don't care who's pitching. If it's you, me, or Matsui or Suarez, doesn't matter. They're not winning that game last year. This year, there's just something that feels a little different.
Yeah.
Is a little frustrating that it takes them until the 9th inning before they really all of a sudden decide offense. Like, okay, guys, I know we were joshing around the first 8. Let's take this serious now, guys. Let's go ahead and buckle in a little bit. But they're finding ways, and it's not always Bobby Witt Jr. and Maikel Garcia. It's not just Vinny and Salvi. You know, Adam Frazier had some really good at-bats. Good at-bats in this game. Nelson coming up big. Freddie Fermin in the 8th inning, I thought actually had a really nice bunt down the line that kind of got the crowd back into it. The crowd was getting a little restless, especially offensively. But when the De Los Santos, the pitcher, he kept having to step off the mound because of pitch comm.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times, and eventually I'm starting to boo the man myself. I'm sitting here going, dude.
Well, now you know you're getting annoying if Sterling's going to boo you.
I'm a nice guy.
Yeah,
you know me. I'm a very nice dude.
He's a non-boo guy.
And the boo birds came out for me because he probably throws 2 pitches, maybe 3. You're a reliever. Your catcher goes 1, 2, 3.
Just put
put
your
fingers down.
Nick Lofton even said that that Freddie Fermin wanted him to put on the pitch comm, and Lofton was like, 1 or 4.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw my fastball, air quotes, or a knuckleball.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 that I'm throwing. Just put down 1 or 4.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. I don't need the pitch comm, which was great. He's like,
who cares?
But for me, like, oh no, we want the pitch comm. He's like, I throw 1 or 4. I throw a knuckleball if I have to. Other than that, I'm throwing a batting practice fastball because they're telling me I can't throw fast.
Yes, and so the crowd was getting restless. He kept doing it, and then they kept going out, and eventually the boo birds came out for me because I'm like, dude, you're a professional baseball player. You got to this without pitch comm. You don't need it in this situation. And then when Freddie Fermin bunted and laid down, the crowd kind of had a little mini eruption because we're sitting like, bleep you, guy. Like, come on. Cool. You're making the game take forever because for some reason this is on you. And so, again, they didn't get in the inning, didn't score, but the crowd's starting to get a little that feel back.
Yeah.
There's certain things in a game where I always believe momentum's real. I believe, home field advantage at times can play a larger part than just some of the nerds or the analytics. I'm an analytic guy myself, Jason.
I was going to say, you're calling yourself a nerd.
I am a nerd, but like I also understand that there's momentum. It's real. Yeah. It happens. And I think Freddie Fermin's bunt, which is hilarious to say, was one of the offensive turning points for the Royals in this game.
Interesting. Yeah, well, let's hear from J.J. Piccolo real quick. He was available before the game over the weekend, and this was the part of the Q&A was the trade market. We are now into June as of Saturday, and it's getting a little more serious with the Royals still having a 5.5-game lead in the playoffs. 4 games back of the Guardians with the 3-game series coming up starting tomorrow, but 5.5-game lead in the playoffs with the wild card. Here's J.J. Piccolo weighing in on the trade market and where their position is right now.
It's hard to pinpoint who are really going to be sellers right now because there's so many teams that are in it. There's a couple teams on some runs right now. All of a sudden they look different today than they did a week ago. All we can do is prepare and be ready for those calls. Jumping the market is preferable because there tends to be less competition. Last year when Texas decided to quote-unquote jump the market, they didn't have competition, for Chapman like they would have in July. So at times it could be very beneficial, and it's something we're clearly exploring right now. The thing that makes the trade deadline very difficult is, one, there's a lot of competition. The players that if we're looking at a reliever, you can be guaranteed 12 other teams are looking at that same reliever. So how much are you willing to give up to get that extra bullpen arm? Or is our approach more, let's try to win some of these deals on the margins? It may not be the marquee closer, but maybe 2 additional arms where we're saving our farm system, but we're making our bullpen deeper might be the way to go. But it certainly starts with what our needs are.
So you heard a couple of things there from J.J. Piccolo, and I do think all options are on the table. If there is a bigger name that could be a difference maker, but it is worth it with the minor leagues and your prospects and your farm system, then they may go that route. But also mentioning that it might be winning on the margins. It might be trades here or there. We add depth to our bullpen and not necessarily go out and get that big-name closer. But it is an acknowledgement of JJ by using that specific term. It's acknowledgement that they need a closer, that they are looking for a closer. So does it make more sense to get a big-time closer and trade whatever it takes in your farm system, or adding a couple of pieces that can help out the bullpen and then have Quatrero figure it out the rest of the way? That doesn't seem like the most ideal situation. What seemed would be ideal is if you're making 3 deals for 3 different players to add depth to your bullpen, obviously those are 3 lesser than prospects, or is it better to trade a higher level prospect for a guy you feel like now he comes in the 9th inning and he's a legit closer in this league? I don't know how many are out there that they can afford to trade for.
Tanner Scott's the big name.
Tanner Scott, yeah. But the problem is, as he mentioned, teams that are making runs that are close to competing or not, there are 25 teams in Major League Baseball that are within 5 games of the wild card.
Sure.
Right now.
Marlins are not one.
No, they are not one. That's absolutely Marlins, Rockies, A's, White Sox,
who have
Angels,
lost 11 in a row now.
Yeah, those are the teams that aren't within 5 games. Every other team, 25 of the 30. So that's 5 other teams that you're looking at are. But I'll even say one of the teams that is more than 5 games out is the Houston Astros, and I don't think they may not be sellers. I mean, if they turn it on and get hot, that might be a team that goes, okay, now we're rolling. Now we're playing pretty good baseball, and we're going to keep this thing together. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but they're 7.5 games out of the wild card. So who's going to be buyers, who's going to be sellers? With the fact that there's 14 playoff spots, it may take a while before you get to a team that officially says, you know what, we're selling now. Whereas in June, the Royals knew they were sellers. The Rangers wanted to go and win a World Series, so the Royals offered him Chapman, and the Rangers were willing to deal with the person that the Royals wanted, which was Cole Reagans.
Yeah.
And, maybe because it was early on, maybe they don't trade Cole Reagans for Chapman in July. Maybe early on you pay a higher premium. And, okay, well, if you want Chapman for an extra month of out of the bullpen, it's going to cost you a better prospect. We want Cole Reagans. All right, let's do it. We want to win a World Series.
When it comes to some of the big-name guys, again, Tanner Scott, I don't think the Royals can compete to get that move done as much as I want Tanner Scott right with one of those guys. Mason Miller of the Athletics, sorry, Royals fans, as much as it would be phenomenal, and you're looking at, he's 2/3 of HDH almost. That dude is absolutely electric.
Yeah.
You're not getting him. The A's have already basically stated that it's going to take a lot to acquire that guy. So, again, I've talked about it before, and another name, this is a White Sox pitcher who, again, the Royals' relationship with the White Sox relationship organization-wise now, a lot of crossover. Michael Kopech. I still think Michael Kopech is a name where this might be the winning on the margins situation, right? Michael Kopech's not a stud. He's not going to be a guy that you're like, oh, he's automatically a closer, but he brings a different wrinkle to the Royals bullpen. A guy who can get strikeouts, a guy with swing and miss stuff. I'm not saying he's elite, but he's a good reliever. And again, a different wrinkle to this bullpen is something that they need. It's why I kind of like Will Klein to an extent. I know we haven't seen a lot of Will Klein so far.
Got his first win.
I know it's a very small sample size, but we have seen a little swing and miss with Will. We have seen a little bit of, again, that different style to Will than the rest of the bullpen, which, again, they desperately need right now because if Zerpa, who's been one of their better guys, is starting to come back to earth, well, they are in serious trouble.
We need to take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, learn funniest best on the other side of the break. More on right after this. Jason Anderson here from my friends over at Guaranteed Foods. And is yours one of the more than 130,000 homes that lost power this past weekend or the Memorial? Teaming up with Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City, 15 years now. The Trent Green Golf Classic and Ronald McDonald House have been teaming up for this golf tournament. $3.5 million have been raised in the time that they have done this golf tournament. And now pickleball tournament that'll be taking place after the golf tournament later on today. We are out at Oakwood where this is taking place. So a cool event, and certainly love all the people that are in Kansas City, remain in Kansas City, moved here, and continue to find ways to give back to the community. And Trent Green and his entire family being one of those families that have done that.
It's absolutely incredible. Yeah. Again, it's what makes Kansas City so special.
Yep.
I will also say that it's getting a little warm right now, and we're looking at this pool.
Yeah, I know. Nice.
It's taunting me.
Yeah. Well, that you know what, the wasp was taunting me the first hour of the show. Now the pool's taunting you. Seems like the pool is more refreshing than that wasp would be for me.
Yeah. I'll go tarps off if we need to. Maybe that'll be your best if I went tarps off and jumped in the pool.
Do we have a learn funniest, best, worst? So I see what you see what it is. Let's get into learn funniest, best. We go around and what we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, and the best from the weekend. What I learned was, just more about those that continue to come back to Kansas City, and with the Big Slick, $4 million. This is what, 4 years in a row they've set a record of that they continue to raise so much money, and over $25 million that they have raised since they started Big Slick, and just all the celebrities that continue to want to be a part of it and come back and take part of it, even if they're not a part of some of the skits that are on stage. They're just simply there to help support Children's Mercy, be around those guys, be around a cool event, and do what they can to give back and help out a community that clearly, and we all know why, but clearly Paul Rudd, Jason Sudeikis, Rob Riggle, Eric Stonestreet, Heidi Gardner, and everybody else taking part in it from Kansas City cares so much about the city for a number of different reasons. So that was cool to see another record being broken at Big Slick this weekend.
Yeah.
What'd you learn, Sterling?
I learned why you never leave a Royals game early. By the way, I did not leave early. I did not leave the game early because I'm a true fan. True
yesterday
Blue.
Or Friday?
Sunday, yesterday.
Okay, so yesterday.
Hashtag True Blue.
Okay, very good.
Hashtag Forever Royal. I can't remember all of the Royals puns that they had, but yes, I stayed, and they walked it off. And that was so enjoyable watching a walk-off in person. And not only that, I also learned that the Royals bullpen is actually somehow worse in person. Somehow you watch it on TV and you're like, that's bad. And then you go in person and you go, huh. Watching Zerpa just decide to throw away a ball, get 0 outs, then watching James McArthur come in and you're like, oh, that's the closer? Yeah. Whitehorse did not play for him when he came in.
Really, this time they've retired that? Or?
So I learned the Royals bullpen is actually worse in person.
Right. Very good. What'd you learn, Dylan?
Boys, I have good news. There is a baker's dozen Sundays before NFL Red Zone is back. We are under the 14 Sunday mark. Only 13 Sundays.
13 Sundays.
Was that the normal cutoff? I didn't know 14 was the cutoff there.
Yeah,
Dylan.
Baker's dozen is.
Baker's
once
dozen.
Once you get to a baker's dozen,
yes, sir.
Then you're really starting to. Then you can look at the calendar.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Then you start to count them down. Before that, it's just like you're.
I can't count that high.
Exactly.
Yeah, but before a baker's dozen, it feels like what's the point?
And there's not like a cool name. There's not like a cool name for other numbers.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's not like a supreme baker's dozen.
There you go.
14.
If I were a baker, I would simply give them 14 instead of 12.
Yeah. Who are the bakers? Like what's it? Why are you guys so pretentious? You had to add one more to the dozen. Can't just make it 12. It's a dozen. It's 12. Why you got to add more to make it a baker's dozen?
Well, because
does a carpenter's dozen have 15? A doctor's dozen has 28.
You can't read a doctor's dozen because of the handwriting.
That's a great point. That's why it's 28. You're just assuming that there's 28 of them.
No, it was Baker Mayfield and actually Curtis Mayfield. They decided to come together and make the baker's dozen.
I get it. That makes total sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, but in your mind it would make sense.
Yeah.
What was the funniest for you, Sterling? We'll start with you.
The Bears skit from Big Slick. I mean, I thought that was one of the funniest skits I have seen in a long time. It was like 18 minutes long, and I still never wanted it to end. That was up there. One of the comedians, I'm forgetting his name right now. He was in a lot of famous stuff, but he's from Pakistan, and he's talking about the rivalry between the Chiefs and the Bengals. He's like, ooh, they called it Burrowhead. Oh, my gosh, how dare they say anything about your precious Arrowhead? Oh, my gosh, how could they ever do that? Ooh, boo, Joe Burrow. Pakistan and India have nuclear warheads pointed at each other, okay? That's a real rivalry right there. That's a real one. Like, if you want to get a real rivalry going with Cincinnati, just fire a missile. Just don't hit them. Don't hit them, of course. Just fire it right by them. Just fire it right by them. Now, that's a real rivalry.
Just let them know you're right there. It could happen.
I did tell him at one point, though, we were hanging out after. I said, just so you know, Columbia did burn down Lawrence one time, so does that count as a real? And he goes, you know what? Good point. That's a real one.
That's a real one.
That's a real one.
There's a lot of history with that. Yeah. Dylan, funniest from the weekend for you?
Is Joe Biden rocking the Chiefs helmet. I'm sure everyone saw this. If only he would have done the Rob Gronkowski draft night, like helmet shake, like rock out that he was doing with his brothers. It just I can't make it more perfect, but that would have done it. It was amazing. The picture lives on forever. So
how much help does Mahomes need?
That's true.
Exactly.
Now he's got. I mean, you got the commander-in-chief. You got Secret Services out there protecting a wide receiver for Mahomes. You already have the officials protecting Mahomes and the wide receivers. Yeah. Now you need the Secret Service out there.
Well, we already knew. But we already knew
like
Joe Biden.
Receivers.
We already knew Joe Biden was on our side the whole time. Remember, that was what the NFL fans were telling us when Taylor Swift was dating Travis Kelce. So,
that's a good point. Yeah. Very good point. He did ask for somebody to throw him a football. And I think maybe Mahomes is just still in the last year's sense of ignoring anybody but Kelce. It's not Rice. It's not Kelce. I'm not throwing the ball. Sorry, not happening.
Can you
Joe.
imagine
Biden's
Mahomes
down there
throwing
somewhere.
a legit ball to Biden? That seems like.
Luckily, he was wearing a helmet.
You know how we joked early on with you about how you might just end up with a hole through your chest.
Yeah.
That legitimately might be.
He was wearing a helmet. So that's good.
Was he going to aim for the helmet?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm not worried about the dome situation.
He's
going to get hit in the.
Yeah, I'm worried about a lot. Yeah. My funniest. You know what? This it sort of combines the Taylor Swift and the Bears skit. The Jason Sudeikis with a very funny joke to Travis Kelce during that Bears skit at Big Slick. Here was the sound.
Hey, Travis, real talk. Okay, just the guys here. When are you gonna make an honest one? Taylor doesn't need to be working anymore. And again, I know your kicker agrees with me. He gets it.
He gets it. I loved how awkward Kelce was, just sitting there like, am I supposed to laugh at this? And then he couldn't help it and started laughing. She doesn't need to be working anymore. Your kicker agrees with me. He gets it.
There were a couple ones where you could tell Kelce Mahomes wanted to laugh, and they're like, oh,
am I supposed to?
They're talking about Butker and Taylor. And then there's one where it was like, maybe it was Sudeikis too. It's like the joke that we've all made, but it was funny on stage still. It was, Hollywood Brown runs a 4.3. Xavier Worthy runs a 4.2. Rasheed Rice, 119 miles an hour. Like, he's got and you could see Mahomes and Kelce just like, trying to like, I know it's good.
I don't know if I should laugh or not.
Probably shouldn't laugh.
Yes. Best from the weekend, Dylan, we start with you. What was your best?
The best is always the hockey conference final trophy presentations where no player will even get close to the trophy. No team member, anyone on the staff is not allowed to touch the trophy. It is considered bad luck for the Stanley Cup Finals. And it's just awesome watching all the players just 6 feet distancing from the trophy every time. Neither team touched it, so we will see. Florida Panthers versus the Edmonton Oilers this year.
Yep. And TV networks are pumped about that matchup.
Yeah,
they're very excited about Edmonton, and this should have been my learned. It's the largest geographical difference.
That's a good one.
In Stanley Cup history,
because they're like way up in like
it's the exact opposite
West
area.
Canada.
So the largest difference in geography for the travel in Stanley Cup history.
So
that is brutal. How long do you think that flight is?
I don't know. It's like 2,500 miles is what separates the two. Yeah, it's a lot.
To your point,
but what's closer, that or going to like London?
I don't know. It's a great question.
To your point, Jason, the only way that it could be very entertaining, I feel like, is if Waino is on the broadcast for the finals because he was an Oiler, and McDavid is kind of like the next guy, and he hasn't won yet. That's the only way, and I do agree with you that the TV execs have got to be not exactly excited.
Yeah. My best from the weekend, this is an easy one for me. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I told you guys that our baseball team, the 8U playing 9U, our first-year kid pitch, playing against the 9-year-olds as 8-year-olds, and we should be in machine pitch for another year. And we got our first medal in a tournament a couple of weeks ago. And Mick asked, he's like, well, what bracket were you in? Were you in the big bracket or were you in the smaller bracket? Because if there's like 12 teams in a tournament, they'll break it up. Like 8 teams will go to the big bracket, the 4 teams in the smaller bracket. And
it's
you
like
still
the
get
big kids versus little kids.
You still get a chance to play for something, right?
Height, like a roller coaster situation.
Yes.
Or
And we've played in a number of those brackets before. But a couple of weeks ago in our big boy bracket, we finished second, losing 14-12 in the championship game. And it was a matter of like being so proud while being crushed at the same time for the kids because they got their first medal. They're holding their first trophy, right, as this, kid pitch team and an actual trophy in a tournament. And felt great for them and proud and didn't know how many opportunities we would have.
Sure.
2 weeks later, this past weekend, we go into the tournament, Big League Chew tournament with 3-2, 9U, and our 8-year-old team. We go in, we play awesome baseball on Saturday. We get the number 1 seed yesterday and play 2 games and bring home the championship.
Wow,
and
good.
We have now officially, in the big boy bracket, we have officially won as 8-year-olds our first ever 9U tournament that we've competed in. And we didn't know how many games we would win this year. We didn't know how many games we would win, let alone winning a freaking tournament.
Upset story of the century.
Absolutely, it was
Rudy
awesome.
Even would be saying this is more impressive.
And I would venture to guess, I don't know, like you'd have to remember your first ever like actual championship trophy winning a tournament in your life in kid pitch, because that was a very big day. It was awesome. We ended up winning 15-0 in the championship game. That's right. It wasn't as it was a little anticlimactic there in the end, but we did have the walk-off and that's right, LeBron. That's how many championships this team's going to win, damn it. That's right. But we get a walk-off, and we got one of our players is rounding third with his fist in the air because he knows he's the 15th run. It's 15 after 3, and we were the home team, so he comes sliding in, and the kids storm out of the dugout.
No
and it was
sportsmanship
awesome.
awards then as the doing the what was his name running around for the Dodgers when he hit that game tire.
Kirk Gibson?
Yeah, Kirk Gibsoning up 15 doesn't really bring home the sportsmanship awards.
No, we were just pumped and excited.
That's
they
awesome.
knew if we got to 15, the game was
lucky
over.
there was another inning because he's getting one in the ribs next time, huh?
I doubt that. I don't think so.
You don't think the kid pitch is doing that? I thought you were going to celebrate the second place victory at first. I was about to say, wow, congratulations.
No, I told him
fans.
there's no second place trophies this go around. You already got a second place trophy. This is about winning the championship. So I did want to send a big shout out because these kids earned it. To all of the kids on the Kansas City Prospects 9U/8-year-old kids and a 7-year-old. My little man, obviously, with Everett, but Buddy Richardson, Creed Wallace, Leo Thorup, Bo Hennis, Halston Hicks, Bennett Johnson, Soren Staley, Anderson Needleman, Graham Brennan, who was playing with us this weekend for the first time, and he was awesome. And, of course, all the coaches, Kalen Hicks, Jimmy Wallace, Lee Richardson, Garrett Hennis. Awesome stuff from them. Big shout-out to the first ever first-place championship trophy in the big boy bracket tournament for the Kansas City Prospects.
Who gets it?
Head coach Kalen Hicks.
Nice.
Gets the trophy, and everybody else gets their medals and their trophies.
Question, did you say it was called the Big League Chew Championship?
It was the Big League Chew at 3-2 this week.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's legit.
By the way, along with your medals, you also got a package
that was
of
my
Big
next,
League Chew.
That was actually literally my
What?
next
Every
question.
single kid got their own package of Big League Chew along with the medal of
Sour
finishing
apple.
If
first
I would have
place.
known, I would have got a fake ID and played with you guys. Like this is.
There were some kids
I
about
am
your
12.
size, and there were some 9-year-olds that were about your size, I think, Sterling.
I mean,
But you
I'm
never know.
not that big, but that's a big 9-year-old dude.
Yeah, no, it was an
so
awesome.
pushing 175.
It was an awesome weekend, and winning 15-0. Our pitcher Creed goes out there, throws a no-hitter, 3 innings, no hits, 5 strikeouts, no walks.
Man, he
in
took
3
you higher.
innings.
He took you higher.
You're damn right he did. That's right. And then best for you, Sterling?
My suit from Big Slick, apparently. No, I'm kidding.
That's what I heard.
It was funny. I got like 12 different people come up to
I
me.
heard.
Like Kat McNamara walked up and was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been looking at you all night. That suit is incredible."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Thank you, appreciate that."
Who hasn't had Kat McNamara
Yeah.
walk up to him and tell him
Yeah,
you look incredible?
I was actually going to say at the Royals game, Steele, they do that thing where you get to get a base and then run back in 20 seconds, whatever it is. This kid got it with 0.1 seconds left. It was electric. The crowd was going wild. We're all just cheering our asses off. He's like, get it, kid. It's down to the wire. It was 0.1. He had the little put your chest forward.
That's right.
Lean with your chest.
Lean at the tape.
He leaned. So congratulations to that. Probably he may have been even probably in the same.
He probably played
baseball.
for our team.
Yeah, he
I'm
probably
assuming.
AU. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So congrats to the kid that got it with 0.1 seconds left.
That's
Athlete.
awesome.
Athlete.
We will. We'll take a timeout. Come back. Wrap up the show next. I wrap things up here on this Monday edition. Thank you to Trent Green and the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City for having us out here at the 15th annual Trent Green Golf Classic. And again, all of the proceeds going to the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. Over $3.5 million they have raised for the Ronald McDonald House with this tournament alone. They have added, starting last year, a pickleball tournament as well. But just an awesome weekend, and then carrying over into today of giving back in the Kansas City area. And Trent Green has been doing this since he played with the Chiefs and had the Trent Green Golf Classic, and then since he's retired, and then teaming up specifically with Ronald McDonald for the donations to go there. So really cool cause. Yeah. Sterling, great stuff today, man. Really, really good work, man.
This is fun.
It
Love
was
doing
nice.
it with you.
Yes.
I kept the tarp on the whole show, too. A little disappointed by that.
Yeah, no rain delay.